Chapter 453. You have a close relationship with the Jiang clan. Is there a story behind this? Lan Shanggu looked at the willow tree and asked curiously. The Lu clan and the Jiang clan were related by marriage. Lu Shu and Jiang Zhulu were cousins. However, because of the Rubik's Cube, the little goblin that was hard to control, the two clans often fought against each other. They knew that if they didn't expose the truth, they could still be relatives. Therefore, even though Lu Shu was disfigured and the Jiang clan suffered heavy losses during the Rubik's Cube fight, the two clans were still on good terms, as if nothing had happened. If the Lu family had given the whereabouts of the real Rubik's Cube to the Jiang family, or directly used Lu Zhaoga's aunt to negotiate terms with the Jiang family, there wouldn't have been a life and death struggle between the two families. The reason why Lu Zhaoga and her aunt could persist until the end, besides the appearance of Fang Yin, was that they had taken advantage of the greed of the two beasts, the Jiang family and the Lu family. How could Lu Zhaoga and his aunt fight against a giant like the Lu family with only their strength? Without the Lu clan support, aunt would have died long ago. Lu Zhaoga would have had no choice but to marry someone else. Of course, if it weren't for the Jiang family, the Lu family would have used all means possible to force Lu Zhaoga and her aunt to hand over the Rubik's Cube. Those two women were trying to walk a tightrope, and they actually succeeded in the end. In the end, the truth came out. The Lu clan knew they were tricked, and the Jiang clan knew they were tricked. No matter how warm and natural their smiles were when they shook hands, how could there be no grudge between them? Lu Shu didn't like Jiang Zhulu. Outstanding people probably didn't like equally outstanding people. Hearing Lan Shanggu talking about the secret history of the wedding, the corner of his mouth curled up into a mocking smile. He sneered and said, Jiang Zhulu can't deal with Fang Yin, but can't he handle a woman? Lan Shanggu gave Lu Shu a thumbs up and said, that's a fair comment. However, this woman was no ordinary woman. She was a woman from the Jiang family, who in Huaqing didn't know about the relationship between the Jiang family and Fang Yin. Although we brothers weren't there were hundreds of people who witnessed the big drama that happened in Yanjing City. For a period of time, calluses grew in my ears. What Fang Yin forced Jiang Junling to abdicate, what Jiang Junling defeated the grassroots hero, and what they were fighting over a woman. What kind of rumors didn't I hear? You've heard a lot, haven't you? Lan Shanggu lowered his voice and whispered, Jiang Zhulu has married a woman from the general family. Is he preparing to fight to the death with Fang Yin? What does the Jiang clan have to do with us? Lan Shanggu smiled bitterly and said, if it was in the past, we could drink red wine and watch the show. The more intense the fight, the better. But now we can't do that. Both of us are partners of Chaoyan Technology and distributors of Chaoyan's products. Who does Chaoyan Technology belong to? On the surface, it seems to belong to Lu Zhaoga, but in reality, it belongs to the Qin family. But what is the relationship between Qin family's Lu Zhaoga and Fang Yin? In the end, their surname is Fang. Previously, we expected that the new energy products from the Rubik's Cube would be popular, but no one expected it to be to this extent, right? Let's talk about the past 2 years. After the Lan and Lu family became the agents of Little Flame's products, how many percentage points did the family's annual profit increase? 300%, and that's only because we are the agents. Lu Zhaoga, that woman, has controlled our profits too tightly. The company sets the price and doesn't give us the right to set the price freely. Otherwise, how much profit could we achieve? Lan Shanggu's expression was both proud and helpless. He smiled bitterly and said, at first, we only wanted to establish a relationship with the Rubik's Cube and earn some quick money for the family. Now, we have all become the puppets of the Rubik's Cube. We can go up but not down. We can charge but not retreat. After tasting the benefits of the Rubik's Cube, if I tell you to transfer the agent rights to someone else, will the Lu family agree? Will you fight with your life? Anyway, I won't do it. How many years has it been since Chaoyan was established? It has only been a little more than 3 years since its establishment, and it has already developed to this point. In the future, as the energy crisis becomes more and more serious, the power that the Rubik's Cube can display will become more and more powerful. That will be the real harvest season for us, It would be a pity to withdraw now. Lu Shu gently shook the goblet in his hand, his posture elegant and calm. If it was 3 years ago, his performance could make countless women fall head over heels for him. Back then, the Casanova of Huacheng was a popular man among thousands of young girls and young women. Now that his face was disfigured, he had become repulsive. No one paid attention to him anymore. Some women who used to be close to him accidentally glanced at him and immediately showed a reserved smile. They picked up the goblet in front of them and made a gesture to invite him to drink. Before swallowing a mouthful of wine, they had already turned around, no longer with the seductive eyes that said, "I'm free tonight." Some women said that they liked his talent and inner qualities, but it was all nonsense. In the end, this was a world of face. You want to play with the Rubik's Cube, but the Rubik's Cube may not be willing to play with you. How do we sign the agency contract? Every 3 years. Now is the 2nd year. After next year, Zhao Yin wants to change agents. What can you and I do? Lu Shu said with a face full of disdain. Lan Shanggu laughed and said, "So, aren't I hugging Fan Yan's thigh? If he is willing to help us, Lu Chaoga won't even say a no." We didn't see the look in Lu Chaoga's eyes when she mentioned Fan Yan. "Io, what's so good about that kid? Whether he's good or not, I don't know." Lu Shu slowly sipped the red wine in his glass, maintaining his unique pace, which seemed a little out of place with the surrounding environment. But he definitely won't be bad to Lu Chaoga. A woman will fall in love with a bad man, but she will never fall in love with a man who treats her badly. Hit the nail on the head. As expected of the Casanova, Lan Shanggu praised. Lu Shu's sharp eyes swept over, and there was an unsuppressible hostility in those eyes. Lan Shanggu knew he said the wrong thing and didn't take it to heart. Right now, Lu Shu couldn't do anything to him, just like how he couldn't do anything to Lu Shu. They were 2 dogs, Chao Yin Technology's dogs, Lu Chaoga's dogs, or rather, Fan Yan's dogs. They found 3 agents to maintain a balanced development of the 3 legs of a tripod. They needed the Jiang family and the Lu family to fight and bite each other. This way, it would be easier for them to control, and it would be easier for them to make the market bigger and better. Of course, even if the Jiang family and the Lu family joined forces to fight with Chao Yin Technology for the right to speak, it wouldn't have any pressure on them, because they still had the Qin family's huge sales system to help them sell. No matter what, the Qin family wouldn't stand on their side. Unless the Qin family wanted to become the biggest shareholder of Chao Yin and join forces with the Jiang family and the Lu family to force Lu Chaoga to abdicate. Was that possible? Thinking about it, they were a bit expectant. However, Lan Shanggu and Lu Shu both knew that there was a 99% chance that this would happen. Why would the Qin family give up on Lu Chaoga, who was easy to control and suppress, and choose Lan Shanggu and Lu Shu, a huge family with a lot of resources? Everyone understood the logic of not being able to get rid of a big family. "Don't joke with me," Lu Shu said with a gloomy voice. "Because that would make me feel like a joke." Lan Shanggu patted Lu Shu's shoulder and said, "Brother, you misunderstood me. It was just a slip of the tongue. I really wanted to praise you in my heart." Lu Shu looked at Lan Shanggu and said, "Although we really want to get the long-term agent of Chao Yin Technology, our 2 families also need to maintain our dignity and independence. If we always put down our pride and bow, not only will they look down on us, even we will look down on ourselves." "What do you mean?" "Close cooperation," Lu Shu said. "Keep a distance, that makes sense." Lan Shanggu laughed and said, "Will Lu Chaoga and Fan Yin come to Jiang Zhuliu's wedding?" "It would be a slap in the face if he came, but it would be a slap in the face if he didn't come. The Jiang father and son are in a difficult position." Lu Shu lowered his head and drank his wine, not answering Lan Shanggu's question. Lan Shanggu felt bored and turned around to flirt with a young beauty beside him. On the tea stage, surrounded by flowers, the lights shone brightly. In the warm and joyful wedding march, a couple walked out hand in hand. The applause below the stage was thunderous. Jiang Zhuliu was dressed in a black suit, looking very handsome. He covered Shangxin's face with a white veil, looking extremely beautiful. When this beautiful couple walked out, everyone felt that they were a perfect match. After the MC finished his speech, It was the newlyweds' parents' turn to speak on stage. Qiang Long Tan had a strong aura, but he only said the usual words of wishing his daughter a happy life after marriage. The representative of the Jiang family was Jiang Shangxin's mother, Li Yun. She was a charming young woman. Her daughter had already married someone else, but she seemed to have gone back in time and did not age. Even though we are holding a Chinese-style wedding today, I am a devout believer. I would like to use the Western wedding etiquette to ask this couple a question in front of all the guests and their relatives. Shangxin, are you willing to marry this man to become your husband? Love him, take care of him, respect him, accept him, and be faithful to him until the end of your life, regardless of sickness or health or any other reason. Li Yun was very emotional. Tears welled up in her eyes when she thought about how she was about to marry her precious daughter off. I am willing, Jiang Shangxin replied in a sweet voice. Zhulu, are you willing to marry this woman to be your wife? Love her, take care of her, respect her, accept her, and make her the happiest woman in the world, regardless of sickness or health or any other reason. I am willing, Jiang Zhulu replied in a determined voice. I'm not willing. At the same time, a low voice sounded at the entrance of the banquet hall. Chapter 454. I don't want to. These 4 words were like a clap of thunder that pierced through everyone's ears. It was like a bolt of lightning that pierced through everyone's field of vision. At such a sacred and blissful moment, wasn't someone purposely causing trouble by shouting, I don't want to, in such an ear-piercing voice? There was an uproar, and everyone turned around to search for the source of the voice. It wasn't a child's careless words, nor was it a mischievous prank from a mischievous person. Someone was really opposing this marriage. Could it be Jiang Zhulio's lover? Apart from such a relationship, who else would stand up to oppose someone else's marriage? However, the person who shouted was obviously a man. Or was Jiang Zhulu a double? Or was this man here to disrupt the wedding because of Jiang Shangxin? Li Yun looked at her daughter worriedly. If things were really as she had guessed, this would be a huge scandal for the Jiang family. No matter how highly her father was regarded by the Jiang family, he would probably be severely punished. Jiang Shangxin felt her mother's worried gaze and shook her head slightly. She indicated that this matter wasn't what she had imagined. Li Yun was then relieved. As long as it wasn't a problem on her daughter's side, it would be a problem on the Jiang family's side. If there was a problem on the Jiang family's side, they would have an excuse to fly into a rage. It might even bring about some benefits for their family. The man stood at the entrance of the banquet hall. As the lights were shining, only a blurry shadow could be seen at the entrance. He walked over step by step from the darkness to the light. His silhouette gradually became clearer, and it was completely presented to the guests. He had returned to the public eye after leaving for 3 years. Finally, someone remembered who he was. Ah, he is Fang Yin, the teacher from Rosefinch High School. He is back again. His martial arts skills are very good, and he even fought with the Japanese sword god. Do you remember? Didn't I say? Why is he back again? Don't tell me. He and Jiang Zhulu. He wore a white shirt and cloth shoes, and his black hair was flying in the wind. His spine was straight, and he looked prouder than everyone else. He walked toward the podium step by step. His footsteps were light, and his body was agile. Many people discovered this strange situation. They realized that watching a man walk was a very pleasing thing to the eyes. Women were not the only ones who thought this way. Even men felt that he was walking a beautiful path. He walked in an imposing manner and was as elegant as an immortal. Fang Yin stood below the stage, his handsome face slightly raised. He looked at the newlyweds and their parents standing on the stage and said firmly, I don't agree. He said again, I don't agree. Jiang Zhulio's expression was extremely ugly as he forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart. He stared at Fang Yin and said, Fang Yin, if you're here to bless and drink, I'll warmly welcome you. I'll definitely accompany you for a few drinks later. Let's not go home until we're drunk. If you're here to deliberately provoke and ruin my wedding, aren't you going too far? There were hundreds of friends and relatives present, and they had just given me their most sincere blessings. Aren't you afraid of being condemned by thousands of people for insulting me like this? Jiang Zhulu lived up to his reputation as one of the four prodigies of watching. Even though he was on the verge of exploding, his words were clear and logical. He naturally placed himself on the weaker side, winning the sympathy of everyone present. Moreover, he said that hundreds of guests had come to give him their blessings, but only Fong Yin was here to provoke and ruin his wedding. With one sentence, he pushed Fong Yin to the opposite side of all the guests present. Qiang Long Tan had been through a lot, and the change in front of him could not shake his mind. He sighed softly and looked at Fong Yin and said, "You're so young, but why are you so vicious? With your actions, it's my Jiang family and my son Zhulu who will be insulted. But have you thought about it? Nearly 1,000 pairs of eyes are watching you. Your words and actions will definitely spread. When that happens, you'll be infamous. Who would dare to associate with you? Fong Yin. Who would be willing to be friends with you? Fong Yin. I know that because of what happened to Chaoga, you and Zhulu had some conflicts in the past. But now, you and Chaoga are living together, and Zhulu has a girl he likes. Now, he's going to hold her hand and walk down the aisle. Let bygones be bygones, and a smile will wipe away all enmity. It'll be a good story if it gets out. It's inevitable that young people are hot-blooded. We can understand and accept it. But you've done something like this on a day like this. That's already crossed the bottom line of what we can bear. Do you really have to push our Jiang family to the brink of destruction? Fong Yin, stop. Don't walk your own path into a dead end. Qiang Long Tan was even more shrewd and ruthless. He kept saying that he was doing this for the good of the young, but he kept putting one evil label after another on Fong Yin's head. Each of his words led the guests below the stage to think. Could a fellow like Fong Yin become a comrade who would fight and retreat together with him? Fong Yin already knew what kind of people the Jiang father and son were. Even a smart woman like Lu Chaoga had been deceived by them for so many years. Even if he wanted to bicker with them, he wouldn't have much of an advantage. His eyes were cold as he looked at Qiang Long Tan and Jiang Zhulu. He said in a low voice, "I didn't intend to ruin their wedding, even though I really don't like them." Whoosh! A clamor rose from the ground. Wasn't this guy being too straightforward? Even if he really thought that way, there was no need to say it out loud in front of others. Wasn't this a public slap in the face? But this kind of feeling was really refreshing. It could be seen from the ashen complexion of Jiang Longtan and Jiang Zhulu, as well as their twitching brows. Fong Yin held out his hand to Qiang Longtan and said, "Give me Lu Chaoga. I'll turn around and leave." Lu Chaoga? What happened to Lu Chaoga? Why did Fong Yin want Qiang Longtan to give him Lu Chaoga? Everyone present was a shrewd person. When they heard Fong Yin's words, their eyes flickered. They knew that there was an inside story to this matter. Fong Yin, I said that we didn't touch Lu Chaoga. The last time I saw Lu Chaoga was at a business conference a few months ago. I haven't seen Lu Chaoga since then. What does Lu Chaoga's disappearance have to do with the Jiang family? Jiang Zhulu shouted through gritted teeth. What happened to Lu Chaoga? Qiang Longtan looked at Fong Yin worriedly. He asked anxiously, "What happened to her? What happened to her?" Lu Chaoga was kidnapped. Fong Yin said viciously, his eyes flashing with a murderous light. "She was kidnapped by you. You're slandering me." Jiang Zhulu said angrily. "You're slandering us. When did we touch Lu Chaoga? What evidence do you have to prove that we kidnapped Lu Chaoga? You don't have any, and you're slandering us in front of so many people. Just wait for the indictment." Qiang Longtan threw a dirty look at his son, Jiang Zhulu, and said, "Zhulu, now is not the time to deny responsibility. The innocent are innocent, and the guilty are innocent. Let's find Chaoga and listen to her story. The truth will be revealed. Hurry up and send our people out to look for Chaoga. Let's call our friends and ask them to help with the search, and all our good friends and relatives here, please help with the search as well. Help me find Chaoga, and I, Qiang Longtan, will owe everyone here a big favor." Qiang Longtan bowed deeply to the audience, as if he was worried about his father. Some people were moved by Qiang Longtan's kindness and righteousness, and they took out their phones to make calls. For a moment, the crowd kept ringing. Leverage. This was what it meant to be a master of leverage. No matter how dangerous the situation was, no matter how big the crisis, They could always find a fulcrum and successfully leverage it to lead things in the direction they wanted. From now on, Qiang Longtan's image would be magnified in many people's hearts. He would become a good father who would let bygones be bygones and be the first to save his daughter when she was in danger. Qiang Longtan turned to Fang Yin and said, "Fang Yin, tell us, what's going on with Chaoga? When did she go missing? Did you call the police? What did the police say? Who's in charge of the case? I'll call the person in charge." It'd be best if someone can come here and explain the situation. Qiang Longtan had put aside his personal grudges and vendettas. All he wanted was to find his daughter, Lu Chaoga. How am I going to explain it to Ming Tu and his wife if anything happens to her? Qiang Longtan said with teary eyes. The old man was definitely an experienced actor. His acting skills were so good that he was able to get into character in no time. It had to be said that Fang Yin had made full preparations before coming here. However, after Jiang Longdan had created such a sensational drama, the rhythm had already been disrupted by him. The public opinion had already begun to spread in a direction that was not favorable to him. Once it exploded, it would be out of control. Qiang Longtan, stop putting on this hypocritical show. Don't you feel disgusted? Even if you don't, we all feel disgusted. In order to annex Long to group, you killed Chaoga's parents. Chaoga and you are irreconcilable enemies. Fang Yin was trembling with anger. Later, you found out that the Rubik's Cube technology was still in Chaoga's hands. You sent people to kill her several times. Some time ago, Chaoga received a secret report saying that you recruited killers from abroad to plan a kidnapping. But because Chaoyan Group has been developing rapidly in recent years and has been suppressing Long to Group, and because you still haven't given up on the Rubik's Cube technology, who didn't know how to act to gain sympathy, who didn't know how to make up a story, half of it was true and half of it was false. Let the audience speculate on their own. Whether it was Qiang Longtan, Jiang Zhulu, or Fang Yin, a group of talented actors gathered together to show off their acting skills. Each of them had a chance to win an Oscar. Chapter 455. History was written by the victors, and the truth was made up by the victors. No one knew the truth, except for the person who knew the truth. Fang Yin resorted to all means possible to smear the Jiang family's father and son. He blended what he knew and then poured it all on the Jiang family's father and son. Jiang Zhuliu's counterattack was to show weakness and attack Fang Yin's character from the standpoint of the weak to win everyone's sympathy. Qiang Longtan's response was selflessness and love. He made himself into a great father who could bear any humiliation and grievances for the safety of his children. He didn't speak the truth, didn't present evidence, and didn't respond to Fang Yan's attack. However, this was the best way to respond. Each of them used their unique skills, and the hundreds of guests were dazzled and couldn't tell the truth from the lies. It was easy for humans to believe in what they saw and what they heard. However, what they saw and what they heard must be true. Now that Fang Yin jumped out and angrily accused the Jiang father and son, it naturally gave people the impression that the Jiang father and son had stabbed them in the back. At least there were suspicions in this regard. If they didn't stab them in the back, how could Fang Yin come over on the day of the Jiang family's wedding to ask for them? Hearing Fang Yin slander him for murdering his friend and his wife for money, Qiang Longtan's face turned angry. He glared at Fang Yin fiercely and shouted, "Ignorant boy, who ordered you to come here to frame me? I, Qiang Longtan, have always been upright, and I've never done anything like what you've said. If I say even half a word of falsehood, let me be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Ming Tu and his wife are my close friends and also my right-hand men in my business. I often think that if the two of them were still alive, what level would Long Tu Group have reached by now? Is it number one in Huaxia? Or is it number one in the world?" With a sad and regretful expression, Qiang Longtan said, "It's a pity that the heavens are jealous of the talented. Ming Tu had passed away early, so he had passed all the work to me. My management ability was inferior to his, and my research ability was like the difference between a firefly and moonlight. But I can't slack off. I can only do my best to move forward. I'm also very sad that Ming Tu is gone. But he's gone. What can I do? I took his only daughter, Chaoga, to the Jiang family and treated her like my own daughter. I loved her more than Zhu Lu, and I doted on her more than Zhu Lu. Everyone here, when have you ever heard of us mistreating Chaoga? Have any of you ever heard of our family treating Chaoga unfairly or wrongly? She said she wants to study abroad, and I support her. I support you 100%. The only thing we argued about was that she wanted to go to the country where her parents were killed. I wouldn't let her go no matter what. It was too dangerous and chaotic there. She wants to study education, and I think it's a good idea. It's a great thing for a girl to teach and educate others. I know Chaoga is smart, and I really hope that she can help me in the company after she graduates. But I respect any choice she makes. Qiang Longtan looked like an old man who had been forced into a corner by evil forces. He looked at the bride, Jiang Shangxin, with an apologetic expression on his face and said, "Yes, there's one thing that the Jiang family did not do right. It's not a secret, and I'm not afraid to say it in front of Shangxin and their relatives and friends. Zhu Lu and Chaoga have grown up under our watch. The more we look at them, the more we like them, and we hope that they can become a couple. In that case, won't our family be even closer? If they have another child, what a happy family that will be." I tried a few times and found out that Chaoga has no interest in Zhu Lu, so I gave up on the idea. Zhu Lu's mother spoils him too much, and she wanted to make this a success, so she put in a lot of effort. This is the opposite of Chaoga's original intention, and the Jiang family has let her down. Later on, Chaoga fell in love with a guy outside. She listened to slanderous rumors and argued that she wanted to split from us and take back her parents' shares. We were willing to give her the shares because they were left to her by her parents, and we wouldn't take advantage of her. But we can't split from the family. The new energy industry has been developing rapidly in the past few years, and everyone is trying to make it bigger and stronger. Why do we split a large company into two? What was that for? If we split it, what advantage would we have to compete with others? After listening to Qiang Longtan's confession, there was a lot of discussion below the stage. That's right. I know about this too, and there was a huge argument at the time. Only someone crazy would split Longtu into two. If Longtu hadn't gone through all those things, it would definitely be developing even more fiercely now. Lu Chaoga is such a heartless woman. She was so easily fooled by that pretty boy outside that she wasted her good looks. Jiang Longtan fiercely looked at Fang Yin as if he was going to fight him to the death. He said, "If she wants the shares, I'll give them to her. If she wants to split from the family, I'll split from her. Children are all grown up and have their own ideas. As parents, we can only do our best to support them, and if we can't, we'll have to forgive them." Fang Yin, tell me, who got the shares Lu Chaoga took with her? Who benefited the most from her Rubik's Cube technology? If I remember correctly, you're the third largest shareholder of Chaoyan Technology, aren't you? Fang Yin, you're just a gigolo. You're just a little Miss Rose Finch who became a billionaire because of Lu Chaoga. Chaoga was so nice to you, and she gave your whole heart. Is this how you treat her? She's missing, she's been kidnapped, and we don't even know if she's alive or dead. Instead of trying to find someone to get her back, you're here to pester me? What's in it for you? If it makes you feel better, Jiang Longtan suddenly jumped down from the stage and rushed in front of Fang Yin. Like an angry rooster, he patted his chest and said to Fang Yin, "If you feel comfortable doing this, then punch me a few times, kick me a few times. As long as it can make you happy and vent your anger, then please help me find my daughter Lu Xiaoga. She's too pitiful to be alone outside." Qiang Longtan was like a crazy father who had lost his mind. He had lost his usual gentleness and composure. He didn't care about dignity or face, and he didn't hesitate to let Fang Yin punch and kick him. Some people fought with their lives, while others fought with their power. Jiang Longtan had thrown caution to the wind at the most crucial moment and fought with his power. Therefore, he had taken control of the entire situation and gained the upper hand. No one would think that Qiang Longtan had lost his composure, because he was a father who had abandoned everything for his daughter. He was a father worthy of admiration and love. As a result, not only was Fang Yin hated by everyone present, but Lu Chaoga was also condemned as a disloyal and unfilial son. When it came to judging the situation, No one could compete with Qiang Longtan, that old fox. Fang Yin naturally couldn't punch and kick Qiang Longtan, because when Qiang Longtan finished speaking, a large group of people had already rushed over and used their bodies to shield Qiang Longtan, as if Fang Yin was really going to punch and kick Qiang Longtan. This old man was too cunning and too smart. While he was doing this, he had already calculated the reactions of the surrounding onlookers. Fang Yin looked coldly at Qiang Longtan's exquisite performance and said in a steady and firm voice, "Don't take advantage of your seniority to play this kind of ridiculing trick. Hand Lu Chaoga to me, and I'll leave with her immediately. Otherwise, don't even think about continuing with today's wedding." Fang Yin swept a glance at Jiang Zhulu and Jiang Shangxin, the newlyweds, and said, "You guys kidnapped my woman, so I won't let you guys live happily ever after." Seeing that a group of men in black, who were in charge of security, had received Jiang Zhulio's order to come over and arrest them, Fang Yin said with an indifferent expression, "I can't win against you guys with words or acting, but I can win against you guys in a fight. Why don't you guys give it a try?" The moment he said this, the crowd quietened down instantly. The men in black who were running toward him also stopped in their tracks, and they looked at Fang Yin, who was standing at the same spot and looking at them with a look of disdain. Was this guy really not a lunatic? They had seen arrogant people before, but they had never seen someone as arrogant as him. There were hundreds of guests present, and in addition to the service and security personnel, there were more than 1,000 people in the entire Longta Club. Why did he have the courage to say something so stupid like he was the best in martial arts? If an expert were to stand out and beat him up, wouldn't he be so embarrassed? Qiang Longtan felt very aggrieved. The aura that he had painstakingly built up had been destroyed by these idiotic bodyguards just like that. Even if he couldn't win, he still had to go up and fight. There were still the police if he was injured. The police would only be able to charge him with intentional assault if they were injured. Of course, standing in his position, it wasn't very appropriate for him to get someone to go up and fight with Fang Yin at this point in time. Thus, he waved his hands to dismiss the bodyguards in black. He looked at Fang Yin and said, "I know that you, Fang Yin, are very skilled, and even if all of us here were to join forces, we wouldn't be a match for you. I didn't kidnap Lu Chaoga, and it's impossible for me to kidnap Lu Chaoga either. Otherwise, you can beat the entire Jiang family to the ground and search for them yourself. Or you can help me find Lu Chaoga. No matter what, don't stand here and waste time." "I won't waste my time, and I won't waste my time saving people," Fang Yin said loudly. "I have evidence to prove that the Jiang family kidnapped Lu Chaoga." Chapter 456. A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. Fang Yin's shout of "I have evidence" made the atmosphere reach a new climax once again. This climax was hidden and buried. It was like a volcano in the deep sea. No matter how intense the eruption was, there were only a few ripples on the surface of the water. Everyone looked at each other with deep meaning in their eyes, but they didn't exchange any words. At such a sensitive moment, no one was willing to let others get hold of their weakness or show their excessive enthusiasm over some small details. It was a taboo and etiquette for these reputable people. Fang Yin didn't come to the Jiang family without any evidence, but he had solid evidence. Could it be that the Jiang family was really the mastermind behind the kidnapping of Lu Chaoga? What evidence did he have to prove that the Jiang family was involved in or directly plotting the kidnapping of Lu Chaoga? However, since he had evidence, why didn't he directly call the police and arrest the Jiang family? Everyone was waiting quietly, and many were secretly looking forward to it. If Fang Yin really threw out some strong evidence, the Jiang father and son would be completely thrown into the abyss today, never to rise again. Jiang Zhulu clenched his fists and shouted, "Fang Yin, do you think my Jiang family is no one?" The matter was obviously not done by the Jiang family. What evidence did he have? What evidence could he have? Even if he had evidence, it would be a frame-up. Fang Yin didn't yield an inch and pressed forward step by step, really forcing Qiang Longtan and Jiang Zhulu. This was Jiang Zhulio's wedding. The bigger the matter was, the more chaotic the scene would be, and the more embarrassed the Jiang family would be. If the matter of today's wedding were to be spread out, would the Jiang family still have the face to see others in the future? This Fang Yan's mind was too vicious, and he was too good at choosing the right time. The best way was to keep the peace and end it here. However, this was obviously not what Fang Yan wanted to see. Jiang Longtan's sharp eyes were like needles that pierced Fang Yan. His voice was calm and dignified as he said, "I just thought that you're a junior. This junior's way of doing things is a bit out of line, but there's still a reason that can be forgiven. Now I think you are a vicious beast that eats people without spitting out the bones. Fang Yan, you're forcing the Jiang family into a corner. Fang Yan, I know you hate our Jiang family. I know you want to destroy our Jiang family. Since you're here today, it seems that you've made sufficient preparations. Since you insist on doing this, I'm not in a position to stop you. You say you have evidence, then show me your evidence. If you can't produce any evidence, I, King Long Tan, will kill myself on your body today." The Jiangs are all businessmen, but they are also hot-blooded. A tall, thin, and gentlemanly middle-aged man walked over. He looked at Fang Yan with an unfriendly gaze and said, "This is the first time we've met, but I've heard of your name for a long time. Every time there's something related to you, you're the one who messes with others." Fang Yan didn't like hearing this. He coldly glanced at the middle-aged man and said, "I'm very interested in every time you talk about something related to me. What are those things? You must not remember, right? 3 years ago, the Maple Leaf Club held a charity auction in Yanjing City. It was also you who messed with others and almost caused the auction to be canceled." The middle-aged man said aloud, "It's the same this time. This is a wedding, the most sacred and happiest moment for a couple of families. You jumped out and made a scene. Your words were vicious, your means were cruel, and you forced and humiliated people to death. Aren't you afraid of retribution?" Fang Yan sneered and said, "I'm sorry, but I still remember what you said. 3 years ago, when I returned to Yanjing for the festival, I heard that the music addict was going to perform at a gathering with my friends. I shamelessly asked someone to help me bring her into the Maple Leaf Club. I didn't expect that there would be people who didn't like us. They just scolded us a little and endured it. Who asked you to be the young masters of a famous family? We're just poor children from a small family. But you still want to step on us and never be able to rise again. We can't bear it anymore. So what if you're rich? You can bully people just because you're rich? 3 years ago, I retaliated after being bullied. 3 years later, it's still the same. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I won't let them off easily. Return Lu Chaoga to me. I'll turn around and leave. Your wedding can't continue. Otherwise, I'll fight you to the death. You're twisting words and forcing logic." The middle-aged man sneered. "Didn't you say that you have evidence to prove that the Jiang family is the mastermind behind the kidnapping of Lu Chaoga? Then show us your evidence. If you don't have any evidence, the Jiang family will demand justice from you." Jiang Fengxing was a direct descendant of the Jiang family. He was highly respected in the Jiang family because of his outstanding ability. Some of the important investments of the Jiang family required his approval. He was also Jiang Shangxin's father. This time, he represented the Jiang family to attend his daughter and Jiang Zhuliu's wedding. Naturally, he hated Fang Yan in every way for such a thing to happen during the wedding. His words on behalf of the Jiang family naturally had the power to make people take him seriously. Sure enough, the way some people looked at Fang Yan changed when they heard Jiang Fengxing mention the Jiang family's name. Everyone had heard that Fang Yan didn't have a harmonious relationship with the Jiang family. However, today an important figure from the Jiang family stood out to warn Fang Yan. The meaning behind it was different. "Don't threaten me," Fang Yan said calmly. "Jiang Junling did something like this in the past. I slapped him back. You're the same." "What good slapback? I, Jiang Fengxing, will stand here and see how you're going to stir up trouble." Jiang Fengxing's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. His wife, Li Yun, quickly walked over and comforted him. She advised him not to get angry. "Where's the evidence?" King Long Tan stared at Fang Yan and shouted, "Fang Yan, where's the evidence you mentioned?" "Master," returned Miss Lu to him. The old butler, who was standing beside him, said, "Boom! It was like a volcano erupting on the ground. Lava suddenly filled the sky. Everyone could no longer remain calm. No one continued to stay silent. Heavens, the old butler of the Jiang family actually stood out to accuse the boss. Could it really be the Jiang family? It's hard to guard against a thief from the same family. The Jiang family father and son never thought that they would be defeated by their own family. Qiang Longtan's performance just now was really amazing. This old fox, he's really capable of anything. No one thought that the old butler of the Jiang family would stand out and accuse Jiang Longtan of asking him to release Lu Jua. This knife was aimed straight at the heart. The pain was bone deep. Slap! Jiang Zhulu slapped the old butler's face. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared, "Old dog Lu, tell me clearly, who do you think should release Lu Jua?" The old butler's original name was Lu Tong. He was an old man who had followed Qiang Longtan to fight for the world. He was the person that Qiang Longtan trusted the most. He was also Jiang Longtan's brain and heart. Just like how every king had some dirty and evil things that needed someone to clean up. For example, the eunuchs and the Imperial Secret Service in ancient times. Lu Tong was the confidant that Qiang Longtan had chosen to clean up these most private matters. It was also because of his recognition of Lu Tong that he entrusted the future hope of the Jiang family to him. Jiang Zhulu had deep feelings for Lu Tong. He had always called him Uncle Lu. He had never treated him as a servant. So, now that Lu Tong had stood out to stab the father and son, it was equivalent to betraying Jiang Zhulu emotionally. Even with Jiang Zhulio's years of self-control, he couldn't bear to lash out in anger. Lu Tong's face was slapped, but he still stood in the same place. He looked like he was ready to be whipped. "Young master, I watched Miss Lu grow up. We're family. There's really no need to be so ruthless." Jiang Zhulu was even more anxious and angry. He wanted to lash out again, but Qiang Longtan grabbed his arm. "Zhulu, stop," Qiang Longtan said in a hoarse voice. Jiang Zhulu didn't dare to go against his father's words. He glared at Lu Tong viciously. If there weren't so many people present, he would have beaten this dog's slave to death. Qiang Longtan patted Lu Tong's shoulder and said, "I'm usually too busy with work, so I let you discipline Zhulu. He has feelings for you and has always treated you like family. That's why he's a little too emotional. As an elder, don't take it to heart. The child doesn't know any better." "Master, I'm not angry," Lu Tong said. His expression was calm, but he was clenching his fists tightly. He was currently suffering in his heart. No matter what the reason was, standing out to report his master was a betrayal in the eyes of everyone. From now on, no one would ever trust him again. "Zhulu doesn't treat you like an outsider. The Jiang family doesn't treat you like an outsider either. I even treat you like my best brother." Qiang Longtan's voice was hoarse, and he looked very emotional. "Master, your love for me is as heavy as a mountain. I'll never forget it," Lu Tong said with red eyes. "It's not easy for everyone to live. Maybe you have your difficulties, and I understand you. But I don't understand. Why? What can he give you? If you want, you can ask me for it. We're brothers. As long as you're willing to ask, I'll give you everything." "Lu Tong, what can Fong Yin give you? What did he use to bribe you?" "Master, Fong Yin didn't bribe me." Lu Tong shook his head in denial. "I've been by your side for a long time. When you and Ming Tu first established Longta Group, I was behind you. I was your trusted and taken care of. I watched Zhulu grow up, and so did Chaoga. I don't care what conflicts or grudges you have, and I can't do anything about it. But Chaoga has already lost her parents and left the Jiang family. Shouldn't we give her a way out? Isn't this a little too violent?" Lu Tong bowed deeply to Qiang Longtan and said, "Master, let Chaoga go. She's still young and doesn't know any better. Give her a way out." Chapter 457. Lu Tong denied being bribed by Fong Yin and insisted that it was Qiang Longtan and his son who had kidnapped Lu Chaoga. This was equivalent to nailing the father and son of the Jiang family to the pillar of shame. If Lu Tong was someone else, there wouldn't be such an effect. However, Lu Tong was the closest person to the father and son of the Jiang family. The power of this stab from him was so shocking. "Old dog, I'm going to kill you," Jiang Zhulu roared. The person closest to you hurt you the most. He finally experienced the cruel feeling of being stabbed by someone close to him. Once again, he impulsively rushed towards Lu Tong, but was stopped by Feng Xing, who was standing beside him. Jiang Fengxing was a smart man. He knew that since Feng Yin had a way to get Lu Tong to testify against the father and son of the Jiang family, he must have something on Lu Tong or had made a deal with him. Lu Tong refused to let go. If Jiang Zhulu attacked him again, he would be confirming his crime. In the eyes of outsiders, he was angry, out of humiliation, and had a guilty conscience. It was extremely unwise to hurt someone in front of others. Zhulu, calm down. Jiang Fengxing pressed his palm on Jiang Zhulio's shoulder so that he couldn't move at all. He said, "You will only fall into their trap if you continue like this." "Dad!" Jiang Zhulu shouted with reddened eyes, looking extremely aggrieved. He was calling his dad Jiang Fengxing. Although his and Jiang Shangxin's wedding had yet to be completed, the two of them were already husband and wife. In everyone's eyes, they were already a couple. This wedding was just a formality. In the end, it wasn't completed, and Feng Yin came over to ruin it. Now, he had no choice but to consider a problem. Had their wedding already been completed, or should they choose another day to hold it again? "It's all right." Jiang Fengxing patted Jiang Zhulio's shoulder and said, "Nothing will happen. He's just a clown. He can't hold up in public." "Lu Tong, you're killing me." Qiang Longtin gritted his teeth and said, "Why is it like this between us brothers? Master, if you let Chaoga go, I'll kowtow to you to atone for my sins. She's an orphan, poor girl." Lu Tong clenched his fists and stared straight into Qiang Longtan's eyes, saying stubbornly, "Forget it." Qiang Longtan weakly waved his hand and said, "You have the ability to kill people's hearts, and you also have the ability to kill people. We, father and son, admit defeat. We don't have Lu Chaoga, and we can't release her. If you want to hit or scold, kill, or call the police, it's up to you. There are so many people here today, and they're all very good witnesses." Qiang Longtan did not refute, nor did he resist. He looked dejected and resigned to his fate. "Dad!" Jiang Zhulu was so anxious that his eyes were red. He shouted, "We are innocent. Why should we admit it? They don't have any evidence. What right do they have to slander us? Let Feng Yin and that treacherous old dog produce evidence. As long as they produce evidence, I will kowtow to them and admit my guilt. Otherwise, don't expect me to bow my head. Don't expect me to admit defeat." Young people tended to be aggressive, and aggressive people tended to be impulsive. Impulsive people could do anything. Jiang Zhulu didn't have the calm and elegant demeanor of the four young masters of Huaqin. He was like an enraged cheetah, growling and wanting to charge at his opponent again and again. "Enough!" Qiang Longtan suddenly turned around and shouted at Jiang Zhulu, "What do you want? What can you do?" It was as if someone had poured a bucket of cold water on top of his head in a world of ice and snow, and Jiang Zhulu suddenly came to his senses. "Yes, what did he want? What would he do? Explain?" Even Uncle Lu, who was closest to him, was on Feng Yan's side and accused him and his son of being the kidnappers. How could he explain himself? Even if he had 10,000 mouths, he wouldn't be able to explain himself. Fight? Fight with who? Feng Yan? Didn't the willow tree try? Was he willing to become the second willow tree? Jiang Zhulu suddenly felt a great sense of helplessness. It was like an ant finding it hard to lift an elephant, or a young eagle finding it hard to soar into the sky. He had the heart to kill the thief, but he couldn't. All this time, Jiang Zhulu had thought that he was powerful and omnipotent. It turned out that he had been wronged before, and he had been bullied until he couldn't lift a fist. He had experienced this twice. Feng Yin had given him the first time, and Feng Yin had given him the second time. Jiang Zhulu had never been so depressed before, and his body was turning cold. After scolding his son, Qiang Longtan turned to Feng Yin and said, "You win. You're the biggest winner today. Let me repeat myself. I didn't kidnap Chaoga, so I can't hand her over to you. If you don't trust me, you can leave it to the police. I think they'll make a reasonable decision. No matter who they hand her over to, the criminal will be severely punished. Let me say this to you and your son. Those who commit unjust acts bring about their own destruction. Fong Yin turned to leave and said, "Let's go." He said, "Let's go." Who would want to leave with Fong Yin? After the scandal between Fong Yin and the Jiang family, wouldn't leaving with Fong Yin mean breaking off all ties with the Jiang family? Many people looked at Fong Yin sarcastically. Did this idiot know anything about the ways of the world? More people were confused and wondered where Fong Yin got his confidence from. Why did he think that someone would bet on him? No matter how humiliated the Jiang father and son were today, they were still one of the 4 major families of Hua City. How could he compete with the Jiang family? They didn't expect that someone would really leave with Fong Yin, and it wasn't just 1 or 2. Lu Shu was the first to stand up. Lu Shu didn't sit in a wheelchair today. He came with crutches. After hearing Fong Yin say, "Let's go," Lu Shu immediately stood up with the crutches beside him and followed Fong Yin to the door of the banquet hall without saying a word. Lan Shanggu's eyes widened. He felt like his lungs were about to explode from anger. Lu Shu was really a good-for-nothing. Just now, he was still teaching him to cooperate and not rely on others. He had to maintain his dignity and independence. Fong Yin's words were still floating in the air when you followed him like a dog. Was this what you meant by cooperation and not relying on others? Was this the so-called dignity and attitude you showed? Were you lying to me that I was uncultured? Of course. Lan Shanggu cursed Lu Shu in his heart. This person wasn't honest, but his speed wasn't slow either. After the willow tree stood up and left with Fong Yin, he immediately became the second person to stand up. He jogged to catch up with the willow tree and pretended to hold the willow tree's arm. He said, "Walk slowly, I'll hold you." Lu Shu unceremoniously shook off Lan Shanggu's arm. "If you want to leave, just leave. Do you need to find such a lame excuse?" 2 of the 4 talents of watching were taken away by Fong Yin at once. This was worth pondering. It should be known that whether it was the lame Lu Shu or the careless Lan Shanggu, they were both core figures that the Lu and Lan families were grooming as the next successors of their families. Now, they were both young talents who had a say in their families. After Fong Yin and the Jiang family had a showdown, they stood up to support Fong Yin without hesitation. Then, wasn't it obvious? They were more optimistic about Fong Yin. In other words, they thought that Fong Yin could bring them more benefits, more than what the Jiang family could give them. Moreover, the Lu family and the Jiang family were in-laws. Even their relatives had abandoned the Jiang family. Wasn't it obvious? First, the guests from the vassal families of the Lan and Lu families who came to congratulate them stood up. Their backbone had already left. What was the point of them staying? Then, some of the partners who had close relationships with the Lan and Lu families. They naturally had to follow in the footsteps of their partners. The hearts of the people scattered. The scene went out of control. In the end, even the guests who were on good terms with the Jiang family or had business dealings with them stood up and left. Some people even greeted King Long Tan out of respect. Some people lowered their heads and left, afraid that King Long Tan would hold them back if they were too slow. The banquet hall that was previously bustling with activity and could accommodate hundreds of people was now mostly empty. It looked miserable and cold. Lu Tong bowed deeply to King Long Tan. He glanced at Jiang Zhulu, whose eyes were red and bloodshot. Then, he turned around and followed the crowd outside. "Traitor!" Someone cursed at Lu Tong's back. Lu Tong tried his best to straighten his back and walked toward the main entrance with his head held high. Jiang Fengxing walked over and patted King Long Tan's shoulder. He said, "Old Jiang, don't take it to heart. Everything will be over soon. They will regret their choices today." Even though he said that, he and his wife still dragged their daughter away from this annoying place. King Long Tan's wife wanted to comfort her husband and son, but King Long Tan waved her away. King Long Tan chased everyone away. The banquet hall that could accommodate hundreds of people was only left with the Jiang father and son. King Long Tan sat down on the steps of the tea stage. He reached out to Jiang Zhulu and asked, "Do you have a cigarette?" Jiang Longtan did not smoke. He would only smoke once in a while when he was feeling extremely agitated. Obviously, King Long Tan's current mood could no longer be described as extremely frustrated. Since it was Jiang Zhulio's wedding today, he naturally had a few packs of cigarettes in his pocket. He took out a cigarette and passed it to his father. Then, He took out a lighter and lit it up for his father. Then, he took out a cigarette and lit it up. Following his father's example, he sat down on the red carpet without caring about his image. King Long Tan took a deep puff of the cigarette and allowed the warm smoke to filter through his lungs. Then, he exhaled it gently. He looked in the direction of the empty main entrance and sighed softly. I haven't seen this kid for 3 years, and he has already become powerful. The younger generation will surpass the older. Chapter 458. Dad, you're still praising him at this point? Jiang Zhulu said in a dissatisfied tone. If Jiang Zhulu had to make a list of the people he hated the most, the first would be Fang Yin, the second would be Fang Yin, and the third would still be Fang Yin. There was only one name in the top 10, Fang Yin. Today was his wedding day, and it was ruined by that hateful guy. The wedding wasn't finished. The guests left, and the bride left. Which woman didn't want a beautiful and unforgettable wedding? This wedding was indeed unforgettable. It would appear in every nightmare. Which parent didn't want their children to be happy and beautiful? The Zhang family must be very disappointed to be humiliated like this on their wedding day, right? Fang Yin was the opponent he wanted to get rid of the most at this moment, because no man could endure such humiliation. King Long Tan smoked the cigarette in his hand seriously, not caring about his son's attitude toward Fang Yin. He said, Fang Yin used to be very smart, but that's all. He only knew how to counterattack, but he never knew how to take the initiative. He was strong, but he was weak. Or rather, he was kind. He could even forgive Chaoga for using him. Lu Shu wanted to kill him, but didn't he let Lu Shu live? You can't say he's kind. Jiang Zhulu didn't want to hear anyone say a good word about Fang Yin, not even his own father. He's just weak and afraid to take responsibility. You can say that. King Long Tan didn't refute his son's words this time. Father died a tragic death in front of his house, and he mourned for 3 years at Swallow Dock. It seems that he's understood a lot of things in the past 3 years, and his personality has changed a lot. He knows how to take the initiative, and it's fine when he doesn't move, but when he does, it'll kill. Kill who? Jiang Zhulu said fiercely. He accused us of kidnapping Lu Chaoga, but what evidence does he have? If he can't, why should others believe him? Is there really no one who believes it? King Long Tan stared into his son's eyes and asked. Jiang Zhulu had been afraid of his father since he was a child. He was not used to looking into his father's eyes at such a close distance. He turned around and took a puff of his cigarette. Even if a small number of people believe it, the Zhang family's reputation will only be affected a little. Do you really think that only a small number of people will believe it? King Long Tan was not satisfied with his son's answer and asked again. No one listens to Fang Yan's words, but that old dog Lu Tong's knife is too deep. Jiang Zhulu became flustered and exasperated. If he didn't jump out to testify against us, how could we be in such a difficult situation? This is all part of Fang Yan's plan. King Long Tan smiled coldly and said, after today, the Zhang family's reputation will be ruined. Dad, Jiang Zhulu was unwilling to admit the truth his father had said. This is the truth. That brat was too ruthless and too accurate. Do you really think he came to take Lu Chaoga away? He came to take away our Jiang family's dignity and face. He wants our Jiang family's reputation to be ruined, to become the talk of Huaqing and a laughingstock in their hearts. Haven't you noticed the frequency of his actions? From the moment he jumped out with a face full of anger and shouted that I didn't agree, he started digging holes and burying his father and son in them. He said he had evidence in his hands. So why didn't he say it the moment he appeared? He just wanted to use some time to spread the news of Lu Chaoga's kidnapping. He wanted to tell the whole story in front of everyone. He wanted to build momentum for himself and Lu Chaoga so that everyone would automatically associate it in their hearts, so that they would subconsciously suspect us father and son to be the culprits behind Lu Chaoga's kidnapping. King Long Tan looked at his son, Jiang Zhulu, and asked, did we kidnap Lu Chaoga? Of course not. Jiang Zhulu denied flatly. How could we do such a thing? We know we didn't. Do the guests here still believe it? Will the people of Huaqing who didn't come but heard the news believe it? I believe, at this moment, this matter has already spread to every corner of Huacheng, right? Whether Lu Chaoga was kidnapped by us or not, it is no longer important to us now, because everyone will see us as the #1 suspect. This is the reason why that brat came here to cause trouble. He wanted to pull us down from the high platform. No, he wanted to step us into the mud. King Longtan's thoughts were clearer and crueler, and he said, so, Lu Tong appeared. If it wasn't to destroy our Jiang family, why would he throw out such an important chess piece like Lu Tong at a time like this? He placed him beside us, father and son, so that he could continuously pass on the information they want. Wouldn't this show the value of a chess piece? Lu Tong, why did he betray us? Didn't our Jiang family treat him well enough? We never treated him like a slave. We treated him like family. When Lu Tong was mentioned, Jiang Julio's emotions fluctuated more intensely. When he was very young, his father handed him over to Lu Tong to take care of and teach him. Other than his father, Lu Tong was his closest and most trusted elder. Unexpectedly, when the Jiang family was in danger, he was the first one to jump out and stab the Jiang family. What's so hard to understand? King Long Tan shook his head and sighed, a little disappointed with his son's reaction. There is no such thing as loyalty in this world. Loyalty only comes from the lack of bargaining chips for betrayal. In the future, you must remember this in your heart. In this world, there is no one worthy of your trust, only those who are worthy of being used. I'll remember, Jiang Zhulu said, as if he was enlightened. Lu Tong, that old dog, taught me a lesson. I'll never forget it. Lu Tong's knife didn't kill us, nor could it kill us. But it left a fatal wound on our bodies. King Long Tan stepped on the cigarette, but in his hand, and rubbed it forcefully. This was the second knife that Fang Yin prepared. It was also the fiercest and most unexpected knife. Jiang Zhulu looked puzzled. Since they already have Lu Tong in their hands, why didn't they just ask him to take out their so-called evidence? How could such a show end so hastily after all this talk and no action? Isn't it a little too stupid? Because they don't have evidence, King Long Tan said. Because Lu Tong doesn't have evidence that you and I kidnapped Lu Chaoga. Then we should make that old dog Lu Tong stay and force him to take out the evidence in front of everyone. If he can't take it out, won't we be cleared of all suspicion? Can he stay? King Long Tan smiled bitterly. Lu Tong has been by our side for so many years. How many secrets does he know? He doesn't have evidence that we kidnapped Lu Chaoga, but he has a lot of evidence on other things. If we make him stay, he will spill everything. How can we face that situation? You mean this is also Fang Yan's plan? When King Long Tan mentioned Fang Yan, his face once again showed a complicated smile of hatred and admiration. He knows we can't stay. He knows we don't dare to. He threw Lu Tong out to stab us. That's the value of the willow tree. He didn't follow up with another attack, so we can only silently endure it. Fang Yan is that smart? Jiang Zhulu didn't want to believe it. He was more willing to believe that it was all a coincidence. Zhulu, don't tell me you can't see the deeper meaning behind each of these events? If you still don't understand after coming this far, compared to Fang Yan, you are still far behind. King Long Tan said with some sadness. Who would want to admit that their son was not as good as someone else? Who would want to give up their father's dignity and pride? But the facts were laid out in front of him. Even if King Long Tan had a million reasons to speak up for his son, he couldn't say that his son was better than Fang Yan. He also prepared the third knife for our Jiang Kong. King Long Tan's palm gently stroked the thick red carpet under his, but the first knife destroyed our prestige, making us unable to stand on the side of justice. As soon as he appeared, he packaged himself as a righteous and fair party, which is why I fought with him for the right to speak. We can't let them say everything. That way we can only be led by the nose. The second knife destroyed our influence. He used Lu Tong to destroy the reputation and connections that our Jiang family has accumulated for 100 years. Didn't you notice? Apart from the people of the Jiang family, no one else stood up for us father and son. Because Lu Tong stood up, the moment Lu Tong stepped forward, he silenced everyone else. Even the people closest to us stood up and stabbed us in the back. What reason did they have to stand up for us? What reason did they have to fight alongside us? Our prestige was destroyed, our power was disintegrated, but our spirit was not dispersed. So, Feng Yin prepared the last knife for us. The third knife was when Feng Yin left, Lu Shulan, Gu Gu, and the others also left. Their departure led to the departure of even more people, and in the end, the situation got out of hand. Why is our Jiang family known as one of the 4 great families of watching? It's because there are people who fear the power of the Jiang family and look up to the Jiang family. With a shout, people gathered. But after Feng Yan's third knife stab, our Jiang family, this elephant, was completely dragged down by him and fell to the ground in a very unsightly manner. Even those people we didn't look at before dare to leave. What right do we have to be one of the 4 great families of watching? Qiang Longtan's smile was bitter, and also very bitter. From today onwards, the Jiang family will be removed from the 4 great families of watching. Chapter 459. From today onwards, the Jiang clan would be removed from the 4 major clans. This was the most serious consequence that Jiang Zhulu could imagine. It wasn't the sacrifice of a single member of the clan, but the entire Jiang clan would be buried in a deep pit. In other words, he would no longer be able to speak equally with the people in Lu Shulan Valley. Those who used to look up to and admire him would also abandon him. In the future, he would no longer be one of the 4 prodigies of watching. There would be someone new to replace him. Although he had never cared about such intangible things before, he was now starting to worry about personal gains and losses. It was hard for him to imagine that when people talked about the 4 prodigies of Huaqing in front of him, they wouldn't mention Jiang Zhulu. Instead, they would casually mention another unfamiliar name. The higher one climbs, the harder one falls. This was the burden that he would have to bear in the future. He couldn't believe it, and he didn't want to believe it. Dad, is the situation really that serious? Jiang Zhulu asked in a sorrowful voice. Yes, Qiang Longtan said. Is it hard to accept? How is it possible? The Jiang clan is still the Jiang clan. It's just a little ugly. How can we be removed from the 4 major clans? Who can replace the Jiang clan, the Lu clan, or the Feng clan? Qiang Longtan knew that it was hard for his son to accept. How could he be willing to accept it? He was the core of this generation of the Jiang clan, the head of the Jiang clan. The Jiang clan had risen to the peak in his hands, but was it also going to fall into hell because of him? However, he was looking at the long term. When Lu Tong stood up and stabbed him, he had already guessed that there would be such a possibility. He had already begun to disperse the pressure in the depths of his heart, so he could now accept it calmly. However, Jiang Zhulu had just realized the severity of the situation, so it was inevitable that he would lose his composure like this. No one is afraid from afar, and no one is surrounding us. Words cannot be moved, and promises cannot be tempted. How can a clan like this still be one of the 4 major clans? In the eyes of those people, the status of the Jiang clan is far inferior to that of Lu Chaoga, Feng Yin, or the other Su, Huang, and Yi clans. If they had a choice, they would also stand on the opposing side. This is the general trend. Even if we cling to the signboard of the 4 great clans, what can we do? A family that is ridiculed, belittled, and even ignored by the outside world. What does that mean to us? It's just a joke for no reason. Qiang Longtan sighed softly and said, That's why I said the younger generation will surpass us in time. Feng Yin sharpened his sword for 3 years, and this sword pierced straight into the heart of our Jiang family, leaving us no room for resistance. To live in the same era as such an opponent is your fortune, but also your sorrow. Is he really that scheming? Did he really have a flawless plan? Even you don't have any way to fight back. Even if I'm inferior to him, how can he possibly be your opponent? Jiang Zhulu asked unwillingly. He didn't want to believe it. He didn't want to believe it. He still remembered the first time he met Feng Yin. At that time, he was still a somewhat inexperienced rookie. Except for his vicious mouth, there was almost nothing about him that people should respect or be vigilant against. Just a rookie. He once commented on Feng Yin in front of the willow tree. Now, that rookie had been reborn and turned into a phoenix that soared above the 9 heavens. After the willow tree was disfigured by him, because of the Rubik's Cube, it was tied to the same chariot, unable to move. If it resisted even a little, he would kick it out of the fast-moving train, and then the Liu family would instantly abandon it in some unknown corner. By using the willow tree, Fang Yin was also insulting the willow tree. By leading the Liu family forward, he was also whipping the Liu family's butt. This kid, every move made people gnash their teeth in anger, but it was also hard to defend against. What about himself? He was even more miserable than the willow tree. It's good for young people to suffer some setbacks. Right now, Fang Yan's way of doing things is both experienced and vicious. Even if people know that he's slandering them, even if they know that he's digging a hole to bury them, we still have to hold hands and jump in together. Does this kind of growth have nothing to do with his father's departure? Kang Longtan patted Jiang Julio's shoulder and smiled. Maybe, after I leave, you will also grow a little faster, Dad. Jiang Julio's face was full of shock. Don't say that. I feel like I'm still far behind you. Give me some more time to study. Kang Longtan smiled. Your grandfather said that I'm a yellow ox and a dog. I have the diligence and patience of a yellow ox, but I also have the savagery and cunning of a dog. I have a lot of confidence in my life. I thought that I'd run amok for my entire life, but I didn't think that, at my old age, I would be bullied by a young boy to this extent. He brought a large basin of fresh dog's blood and said, Kang Longtan, I'm going to pour this basin of dog's blood on your head. And then he did it. We didn't have any ability to retaliate. Just now, did you feel especially powerless? There will be many more days in the future. If I don't get my revenge, then I'm not a man. Jiang Zhulu sneered. He can be arrogant for a moment, but can he be arrogant for the rest of his life? Don't seek revenge for revenge's sake. If there are benefits to be gained, why don't we all sit down and drink tea, chat, and become friends? Kang Longtan tried to console his son. A person doesn't live to fight. That kind of life is too dark, and there's no sense of accomplishment. What we want is to control the situation, to maximize our benefits, to become the best person in a certain field. This kind of life is worth looking forward to. Jiang Zhulu pondered for a long time, then looked at his father and asked, Then, who kidnapped Liu Chaoga? Who knows? Kang Longtan shook his head. Everyone who covets the Rubik's Cube has this possibility. Even Fang Yin could be the mastermind. Fang Yin. Jiang Zhulu was shocked. Did he direct and act out the show? He directed this show himself, then threw the dirty water on us, and finally became the biggest winner in this matter. With his kids' scheming methods, it's not surprising that he could do something like this. Kang Longtan said in a low voice. Jiang Zhulu sucked in a breath of cold air. It was only then that he felt fear. Fear because he had a rival named Fang Yin. A guy like this, what wouldn't he do? Kang Longtan looked at Jiang Zhulu and asked, If you were Fang Yin, what would you do? Do what? What would I do to Liu Chaoga? A hint of panic flashed in Jiang Zhulio's eyes as he said, I don't know. You really don't know? Or you don't want me to know? Jiang Zhulu gritted his teeth and said with a firm voice, I guess we'll never see each other again. Kang Longtan nodded and said, That's the best choice. It seems he thinks the same as you. If Liu Chaoga was kidnapped, then let her disappear from this world forever. Fang Yin was originally the third largest shareholder of Chaoyan Technology. If Liu Chaoga really disappeared, then with his relationship with the Qin family, they could work together to divide the shares under Liu Chaoga's name and take control of Chaoyan Technology. Fang Yin would soar to the sky because of this. When Fang Yin walked out of the Longtu Club entrance, a GMC off-road RV was already parked on the side of the road waiting. Seeing Fang Yin walk over, the front passenger door opened, and Qining jumped out to help open the back door. After Fang Yin got in the car, Qining was about to close the door when he saw Fang Yin's eyes. He stopped what he was doing and waited by the side with the door open. Lu Tong followed closely behind and got in the car, followed by Lu Shu, who limped over, and his old friend Lan Gulu. Fang Yin nodded, and Qining tactfully closed the door. When Qining jumped back into the front passenger seat again, the RV slowly started. Lan Shanggu looked at Fang Yin with a smile and said, Master, I know you have a lot of things to take care of when you come back, so I didn't rush over to bother you. I was thinking of finding time to treat you to a drink. I didn't expect to meet you today. There's no hurry to drink, Fang Yin said. Lu Shu looked at Fang Yin and asked, Miss Lu Chaoga, was she really kidnapped? She was really kidnapped, Fang Yin said in a low voice. The atmosphere in the car suddenly became heavy, and even breathing became more difficult than before. Lan Shanggu didn't speak, and Lu Shu didn't speak either. Lu Tong lowered his head and pretended not to hear their conversation. Seeing their expressions, Fang Yin understood what they were thinking and said, She's very important to me. I want to save her. Seeing Fang Yin's attitude, Lan Shanggu and Lu Shu clearly felt a lot more relaxed. If Fang Yin had his own selfish motives and was willing to abandon that woman, they would have to make a choice again. Would they be loyal to Fang Yin or loyal to their previous partners? The answer to this question was self-evident. Lan Shanggu took out his phone from his pocket and dialed a number, then said, Find Lu Chaoga. Lu Shu also took out his phone and sent 3 words to a number that wasn't recorded on his phone. Lu Chaoga. Fang Yin sighed softly and said, Everyone from now on will be in the same boat, sharing wealth and prosperity. If the boat is about to capsize or fall apart, you can find someone else. I'll tell you to take care. But if we're sailing smoothly and there's still someone who's half-hearted, then don't blame me for being impolite. Even if the boat is about to capsize or fall apart, do I have any other choice? Lu Shu asked back. The answer to this question had already expressed his attitude. Lan Shanggu smiled and said, Master, from now on, I'll follow your lead. Chapter 460. The car stopped at the corner leading to the highway, where Lu Shu and Lan Shanggu got off. Their car followed behind, so they didn't have to worry about walking back to the city. Goodbye, Master. Lan Shanggu stood at the door and said goodbye to Fang Yin. We'll do our best to find Miss Lu. Thank you, Fang Yin said. The car door closed, and the GMC set off again. Watching the car disappear into the distance, Lan Shanggu asked, Are we really going to look for her? Lu Shu thought for a moment and said, He's really going to look for her. Lan Shanggu nodded with a smile and said, If he's really going to look for her, then we'll really look for her. The huge and heavy car quickly drove on the highway to Huaqing. Only Fang Yin and Lu Tong sat in the spacious and luxurious back compartment. Fang Yin was silent, and Lu Tong felt uneasy. When Lu Shu and Lan Shanggu were here, he felt more relaxed and comfortable. Now that Lu Shu and Lan Shanggu were gone, why did he feel uneasy all over? Lu Tong suddenly remembered that when Lu Shu and Lan Shanggu were sitting here, the atmosphere was also a bit gloomy, and they were deliberately flattering him when they spoke. Obviously, they were afraid of Fang Yin, or had something to ask of Fang Yin. This man who disappeared for 3 years showed the aura of a king as soon as he returned. Was this just a temporary illusion, or was the energy that had been secretly accumulated over the years finally going to explode? Was Fang Yin going to become the representative of the rising power in Huaqing? No matter what, after this battle, no one could ignore his existence anymore. Fang Yin was in Huaqing. Fang Yin seemed to have just remembered Lu Tong's existence. He turned his body slightly so that he could talk to Lu Tong, and his expression deliberately softened. He seemed to be more polite than he was to Lu Shu and Lan Shanggu. Mr. Lu, it's been hard on you, Fang Yin said gratefully. Lu Tong paused for a few seconds, then sighed heavily and said, I just did what I promised, Master. When he heard Lu Shu and Lan Shanggu call Fang Yin young master, he followed suit. He knew very well that Fang Yin was just a teacher at Rosefinch Secondary. Oh no, a security guard. Betraying one's master was a disgrace in anyone's eyes. Even though Fang Yin was speaking to him amiably now, he also understood the other's thoughts. It was impossible for him to look up to someone like him. If he kept his moral integrity, he wouldn't be able to keep his life. If he kept his life, he would lose his dignity. It's so hard to be a human. Fang Yin nodded and said, I still have to thank you. Without you, we wouldn't have been able to expose the ugly faces of the father and son of the Jiang family in front of so many people. You have been with them for so many years. You should know what kind of despicable people they are, right? Lu Tong remained silent. The reason he didn't answer was not because he still wanted to pick up some things that he had abandoned, such as dignity and moral integrity. Some things were lost and could never be found again. He just didn't know how to answer this question. Jiang Longtan and Jiang Zhulu, father and son, had indeed done quite a number of evil deeds. Furthermore, a large portion of those deeds had been arranged by him. He was the executor, the garbage cleaner who helped the father and son of the Jiang family. By betraying the father and son of the Jiang family, he was actually betraying himself. However, it was also because he had no other choice. Fang Yin didn't care whether he answered this question or not. He said to himself, "Your little son will be fine. I will let him go. I will let him gamble less and do something serious. He lost so much that he pawned his hands and feet. This is no longer gambling, but gambling with his life. If they really cut off his hands and feet, is he still human?" Yes. Master is right. Lu Tong nodded again and again. At this time, if Fang Yin said that shit smelled good and you had a taste, he would also nod and say that he had good taste. It couldn't be helped. Who asked his little son's life to be in someone else's hands? Lu Tong had 2 sons. His eldest son fell ill when he was very young, and his body was paralyzed and unable to move. His younger son was healthy and smart, but because his family pampered him too much, he developed a bad habit of being arrogant and lascivious. His younger son liked to gamble, which made Lu Tong very worried. Gambling was the most uncontrollable thing. When one was angry, his wife and son would bet everything on it. Gamblers could easily lose control, and once they lost control, they could do anything terrible. Lu Tong talked to his younger son several times, but the results were not ideal. Recently, he cut off his son's financial supply and wanted to use the method of cutting off food to change his bad habit. He didn't expect Lu Tong to find someone to borrow from usury, and before the loan was paid off, he pawned his hands and feet at the God of Wealth casino in Huaqing. If a normal person won over his son's hands and feet, it would be easy to solve the problem. It was just paying back the money. Lu Tong had followed the father and son of the Jiang family for many years and had some savings. He was confident that he could help his son settle this matter. Moreover, even if he couldn't solve it, he could ask the father and son of the Jiang family for help. If Qiang Longtan or Jiang Zhulu were willing to help, the other party would more or less give some face and end this matter. Who would want to become enemies with the Jiang family? However, it was Fang Yan's people who came looking for him. If Lu Tong still didn't know that his son had fallen into someone else's trap, then he would have served Qiang Longtan for so many years in vain. To stand up and become enemies with his old master, or to let his younger son become a cripple like his eldest son, paralyzed in bed for the rest of his life. The choice wasn't too difficult. Fang Yin looked at Lu Tong's bowing appearance, and his heart was slightly bitter. This was also a father who could sacrifice everything for his son. It was a little familiar, but also a little strange. "What's your plan for the future?" Fang Yin asked. Lu Tong was stunned for a moment, and his eyes stared at Fang Yin with suspicion and vigilance. Wasn't this just a one-time deal? He stood up to help Fang Yin, and Fang Yin returned him a complete son. Why did he have to ask him what his plan was? Fang Yin smiled and said, "If you help me, you'll naturally offend the father and son of the Jiang family. You know very well how the Jiang family does things, and there's another general family standing behind them. In Hua City, only I can protect you from death. In Huaxia, only I can protect you." "You dare to take me in?" Lu Tong asked in a hoarse voice. He was a traitor who had just betrayed his master's family. He was already prepared to bear the curses of tens of thousands of people, and was prepared to receive the revenge of the Jiang family and others. In order to save his son, he had to pay this price. Of course, there was a possibility that his son would still be killed by them in the end. "I don't need your loyalty. I only need your ability." Fang Yin smiled. "From today onwards, you're my butler." Eldest young master, Lu Tong looked at Fang Yin in shock. Was this man crazy? He had just betrayed his previous master, and now he had a new one? Don't ask me what I think, just tell me what you think. Fong Yan's finger tapped on the armrest of his seat as he asked. Thump! Lu Tong slid down from his seat and sprawled on the ground in front of Fong Yan. His movement was so big that Qi Ning, who had been on guard the entire time, almost shot him to death. However, after comparing the martial prowess of Fong Yin and Lu Tong, he gave up on this method. Eldest young master, from today onwards, I'll be a vicious dog at your feet. I'll bite whoever you want me to bite. I don't ask for great wealth. I just want to ensure the safety of my family. Qi Ning, make the arrangements. Fong Yin said. Yes. Qi Ning answered and began to make a call. He only needed to make a call, and the members of Lu Tong's family who were under their control would immediately be moved to a safe place. A place that was difficult for outsiders to come into contact with. The GMC RV stopped at the underground parking lot of the God of Fortune Casino. Under the lead of a blonde, a few men in black helped a pale young man walk over. Seeing the thin and delicate young man, Lu Tong was so happy that his eyes were brimming with tears. He ran over and slapped his face again and again. Teacher! The blonde stood under the car and respectfully greeted Fong Yan. This kid hasn't changed his gambling habits. He lost both his hands and feet. When we locked him up, he still wanted to borrow money from us to continue gambling. He said he wanted to win his hands and feet back. How could he win? Who would win for him? Idiot. Oh right, Boss Zhao asked me to say hi to teacher. He said that in the future, if teacher wants to entertain someone, just tell him in advance, and he'll definitely treat that person well. Fong Yin didn't respond to Boss Zhao's greeting. Instead, he looked at the blonde and said with a gratified expression, some people use knowledge to harm others, while others use knowledge to save others. San Xian, you belong to the latter. I'm very satisfied with your performance. San Xian's face was flushed with excitement. He held his head high, chest out, and legs together. He loudly said to Fong Yin, this is all because of teacher's guidance. I've just achieved a small achievement, but I'll definitely not be arrogant and impatient and make greater contributions to the country and society. San Xian was the one who took the credit for Lu Tong's betrayal. He was the one who found out that Lu Tong's son, Lu Wei, was a gambling addict. He and Boss Zhao from the God of Fortune Casino worked together to set up a trap to win his hands and feet. He was also the one who personally negotiated with Lu Tong. A blonde hooligan gave him a big enough stage, and he was able to blossom with brilliance that no one could look directly at. I'm looking forward to your future. Fong Yin said. Lu Tong trembled with anger. You set up a trap to frame my son, and you call that using knowledge to save others? You call that a small achievement? You even say you want to make greater contributions to the country and society? Lu Tong was angry, so he slapped his son even harder. Chapter 461. Pa! Lu Chaoga heard the sound outside, and her consciousness gradually woke up. She opened her eyes and quickly closed them again. The light was too bright for her eyes to adapt. Her last memory still stayed in their car into the truck compartment, and the truck door closed into extreme darkness. Then the car swayed all the way forward. Finally, their brains became heavier and heavier, and then they all fell asleep. Now thinking about it, the truck compartment must have been sprayed with some kind of drug. The drug was sent into the car through the air conditioning gas circulation system of the Mercedes-Benz. Even without opening the door, it could make them lose the ability to resist. What is this place? She was lying on an iron bed with a white bedding on it. Although there was no object covering her body, and her body was curled up because of the cold, she was treated very well compared to the status of a kidnapped hostage. The room was simple, with a white iron table and 2 white iron chairs. There was nothing else. Lu Chaoga felt a little dizzy, as if the bed had been shaking, or the whole room was shaking gently. The door of the room was pushed open, and a tall man with a beard came in. The man was wearing a desert-colored military camouflage suit. The front of the coat was open, revealing a small black vest and strong chest muscles that were fuller than a woman's chest. On his feet was a pair of black military leather boots. The leather boots clattered on the ground, and every step seemed to make a hole in the floor. The man's left hand was holding a glass of water, a glass of water in a glass. The man's right hand was holding a knife, a sharp dagger with different depths of serrations. The man put the water in his left hand on the iron table in the room, then pulled out the chair and sat down. Looking at Lu Chaoga, who was sitting on the bed and looking at him with a vigilant face, he said with a smile, "We have said hello. I am the Lord God. You should remember my voice, right?" Lu Chaoga jumped out of bed, pulled out another chair, and sat down in front of the Lord God, dignified and elegant, without any awareness of being a hostage. She pointed to the glass of water in front of her and asked, "May I?" "It's prepared for you," the Lord God said. "Drink it and detoxify yourself." Lu Chaoga picked up the glass of water and drank it in one gulp. She felt that she was really thirsty. Every cell in his body was screaming for water. The Lord looked at Lu Chaoga thoughtfully and said, "You're really not afraid of death." "We've already discussed this issue," Lu Chaoga said impatiently. "I think, as a kidnapper, your time is more precious than mine. We can go straight to the next part." The god laughed and looked at Lu Chaoga with admiration. "It's a pity that I don't like women. Otherwise, I would definitely like you. You're such a..." The Lord thought for a few seconds and finally came up with a suitable adjective. He said, "Superb." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sharp blade in the Lord God's hand spun into a beautiful knife flower and said with a smile, "So I also brought a knife." Lu Chaoga looked at the Lord God and didn't respond, quietly waiting for his next move. Not impatient, not anxious, not panicked, not afraid. As she said, she was prepared for the worst. The Lord God stared at Lu Chaoga's dignified and beautiful face for a while, then said helplessly, "Meeting a hostage like you is a very unlucky thing for the bandits, because we can't find any sense of accomplishment in it. A woman who doesn't understand fear. This is the first time I've seen it. A kidnapper who talks so much nonsense. This is also the first time I've seen it," Lu Chaoga said coldly. The Lord God laughed and said, "Kidnappers also have emotions, likes and dislikes. It's because I admire you so much that I can't bear to use torture in the past. How about we choose a more peaceful way of communication?" "What kind of peaceful way of communication?" "Give me the Rubik's Cube technology, and I'll keep you alive," the Lord God said. "With the scale of your assets now, even if you hand over the Rubik's Cube, you won't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of your life. Moreover, you are so beautiful that countless men are willing to do anything for you. Even if they lie at your feet and become a dog, they will also rush to you. I know men too well. You won't lose anything, and you can live a happier and more comfortable life." "Sounds good," Lu Chaoga said with a blank expression. "Don't you think so?" The Lord God comforted softly and said, "In the years you have held the Rubik's Cube, when have you ever had real freedom? You have to follow a large group of people when you go in and out. Someone has to go in and check first when you go to the toilet. And someone has to taste everything you eat first. How many assassination attacks have you experienced? How many bodyguards have you sacrificed? Why bother? You have a lot of money, but you don't squander it. You have a good time, but you don't enjoy it. Why do women make it so difficult for themselves? For something that is no longer important to you, you bet your beautiful little life. Is it worth it?" "It's not important to me," Lu Chaoga said. "It's important to him." "Fong Yen?" The Lord God's face was full of sarcasm, and his tone became contemptuous and disdainful. He said, "That pretty boy? Besides having a sissy face, what else could he do? What else can he bring you? Do you need to be so devoted to such a useless man, even at the risk of dying?" Lu Chaoga looked at the Lord God and said, "In this world, there is hatred because of interests, but there is absolutely no love without reason. What he has done for me, you don't need to know. What I can do for him, you can witness." The smile on the Lord God's face gradually faded, and his eyes were murderous as he said in a hoarse voice, "I will kill you. This is what I am best at. This is what I am willing to do for him." Lu Chaoga said, "If I really die, he will be the biggest winner. As long as the Rubik's Cube is not lost, Chao Yin will not fall. I have already made a will that if anything happens to me, all the shares of Chao Yin under my name will be given to Fong Yin. In that case, he will become the largest shareholder of Chao Yin. He will gain true control of Chao Yin. The tiredness on Lu Chaoga's face faded a little, and she said in a very relaxed tone, "If Chao Yin falls into his hands, it will be even more difficult for you to take away the Rubik's Cube. He is not a very easy person to talk to." The Lord God did not speak for a long time. Is this woman crazy? Of course she is not crazy. She is Lu Chaoga, the lifelong owner of the Rubik's Cube technology, the person in charge of Chao Yin technology, and a revolutionary in the field of new energy. In the second year of Chao Yin Technology's founding, she was named the Best Technology Entrepreneur of the Year by Huaxia Finance. In the third year of Chao Yin Technology's founding, she was also named the Best Entrepreneur of the Year by Huaxia Finance. Because the whole year was full of publicity and reports about the little flame of Chao Yin Technology. The United States Time magazine published her photo on the cover of the annual Christmas special issue. The advertising words were, "This woman has illuminated Huaxia and will illuminate the world." Everyone knew that she was an outstanding woman, a strong woman who was worshipped by countless people. However, if you say that she is not crazy, the Lord God is not willing to believe it, because every word she said is too crazy and too unreasonable. What love does a woman like her need? As long as they run the business well, they will have the world. Everything in the world can be taken, including men. However, she said that she is willing to die for a man. Moreover, she is very happy that if she dies, the man will inherit her inheritance and control her business. Isn't this something that only a madman can do? I don't believe it. The Lord God said, "I don't believe that there will be such a person in the world. There will be such a woman." He grabbed Lu Chaoga's arm and put her palm on the table. The sharp edge of the dagger in his hand pressed on the back of Lu Chaoga's hand and said, "If I stab like this, your beautiful little hand will be ruined, I know." Lu Chaoga said, now that she has prepared for the worst, what she is facing now is one of the worst. The Lord God's eyes were slightly cold, and the knife in his hand slowly pressed down. The skin on the back of Lu Chaoga's hand was cut, and blood flowed out along the sharp teeth of the knife. Then it pierced through the flesh and bone, and the sharp blade went through the back of Lu Chaoga's hand. Clang! It was not until the tip of the knife hit the steel table that the Lord God stopped his movements. "What do you think?" The Lord God grinned and looked at Lu Chaoga and asked, "In fact, it doesn't hurt when it's stabbed in, but it hurts when it's pulled out. There are 21 barbs on my knife. When I pull out of your palm, it will pull out your skin, your flesh, and your meridians together. What is the feeling of tearing the heart and splitting the lungs? You must not have tried this feeling, but I can let you taste what is the feeling of tearing the flesh. Why not just cut your throat?" Lu Chaoga did not struggle. There was no point in struggling in front of such a man. It would only provoke the other party to use more intense and cruel means. Her forehead was covered with beads of sweat, and even her messy hair was soaked with sweat. Because of the pain, the muscles on her face kept twitching, and her arms were trembling violently. This has nothing to do with human psychological quality, but the natural reaction of the body. It's more concise and convenient. I have read some psychological books. People will be more awake when facing the threat of life and death. Maybe then I can know what I want. Chapter 462. Slit the neck. The Lord sneered. If you slit the neck, you will die. If you die, who am I going to find for the magic cube? I'm not so stupid to fall into your trick. Can you still feel your palm? Feel it well. Feel every time it brings you pain and tremble. Feel it cut through the pores and flesh by the blade. Feel your blood freeze a little bit, and your body lose contact a little bit. Screech. The wrist of the Lord holding the knife was lifted up, and a sharp blade that pierced Lu Chaoga's palm was pulled out by him. Whoosh! The blood gushed out like a blood fountain. The bright red blood splashed on the face and body of the Lord, and Lu Chaoga's own face and body. Lu Chaoga's white and smooth face was speckled with red blood drops, which looked strangely coquettish and sexy. She didn't make people feel pitiful. She never made people feel pitiful. She was a fastidious person and a woman who was strong enough to die bravely and tidy up her clothes to make herself elegant and calm. The rain of blood fell from the sky, and the Lord stuck out his tongue to lick the blood stains on the corners of his mouth and began to become excited. He held the dagger with teeth upside down, laughed, and looked at Lu Chowga and said, Lu Chowga, how do you feel? Do you enjoy it? I am already excited. Are you the same as me? Lu Chowga's face was as white as paper, and her forehead was sweaty. The pierced palm trembled on the table, but tried its best to maintain its previous sitting posture. Her two long legs were together, and her upper body was trying to straighten up to support her weak body because of excessive pain. Lu Chowga didn't answer the Lord's words. If there was still a trace of strength, she would use it to resist the Lord's attack again. The Lord was very satisfied with the effect of his knife, and looked at Lu Chowga and said, The second knife, I stabbed your right hand, still stabbed in the hole just now. I just said I appreciate you. So, I really can't bear to hurt you. This was the damage stacking skill. Everyone knew that the position of injury was the most painful and sensitive. Not to mention a stab, even a breath of air towards the wound would be so painful that it would be hard to breathe. Stabbing him in different places was just an extra stab. However, if he stabbed the original injured spot again, the damage would be stacked. This damage effect was no longer as simple as one slash after another. Instead, it was multiplied by several times. Not to mention a weak girl like Lu Chowga. Even those famous assassins in the mercenary world would find it hard to endure such torture. The sovereign's words were long-winded, but his attacks were swift and decisive. Before Lu Chowga had any time to prepare, he had already stabbed him with a knife. It was still Lu Chowga's right hand and the hole in the center of her right hand. The barbs on the dagger once again tore through the torn flesh. Because of the brutal insertion of the dagger, more blood and flesh oozed out from the side of the blade. Lu Chowga fainted from the pain. We often talk about such a phrase, heart-wrenching. When a loved one died, it was heart-wrenching. When a cat and a dog at home died, it was heart-wrenching. When a boyfriend broke up, it was heart-wrenching. When a boyfriend broke up, it was heart-wrenching. When the fried chestnuts at Wong Motsi's house were sold out, it was heart-wrenching. When they didn't get a private room at Cash Locker KTV, it was even more heart-wrenching. How many people had experienced the real heart-wrenching pain? Tearing the heart and bursting the lungs. Such a pain, perhaps ordinary people couldn't bear it all, right? When Lu Chowga woke up again, she felt someone touching her injured palm. It was still a heart-wrenching pain, but there was a comfortable coldness. Lu Chowga opened his eyes and came face to face with a pair of worried and concerned eyes. Lu Chowga was stunned for a moment and instantly understood. No sadness, no joy. She had long given up. Qiang Long Tan carefully applied layer after layer of brown ointment on the wound on Lu Chowga's palm, then wrapped it tightly with white gauze and skillfully tied a beautiful bow. Then he sighed softly and said, How do they hurt you like this? Lu Chowga retracted his hand and sat up with the support of one palm. It was a very ungraceful thing for her to lie in front of a strange man like this. She was a decent woman. I've already helped you bandage it. I used the golden chrysalis skin nourishing powder personally made by Dr. King Chin Luo. The real ointment ground from the golden chrysalis powder won't even leave a scar after the wound is healed. Qiang Long Tan pointed to the place between his eyebrows and said, Do you still remember here? Were you 11 or 12 years old at that time? When I came back from work, you were watering the flowers on the balcony on the second floor. A flower pot suddenly fell down and slashed across the place between my eyebrows. There was a deep cut between my eyebrows. At that time, the flesh was turned inside out and blood flowed all over the ground. You were frightened and stood on the balcony looking at me like a fool. I still remember the look of panic in your eyes. I smiled and told you that I was fine. Then your aunt took this bottle of golden chrysalis powder and bandaged it for me. She didn't even go to the hospital. Look, do I still have a scar here? No, Lu Chowga said. They had lived together for so many years. How could she not know if there was a scar between his eyebrows? Yes, there's no scar left at all. It's really a magical treasure. This kind of thing is rare nowadays. I only have this little. Qiang Long Tan put a small medicine bottle in his pocket and looked at Lu Chowga with a smile on his face and said, From that moment on, I knew that you wanted to kill me. If you weren't too nervous that time, if you didn't throw the flower pot in a split second, maybe you would have avenged your parents. Lu Chaoga was moved. This was the first time that Qiang Long Tan told her about the death of her parents. Their death was done by you, right? Lu Chaoga's voice trembled slightly and asked in a low voice. Qiang Long Tan looked at Lu Chaoga and said lightly, "Didn't you already know?" "I know." Lu Chaoga nodded. "But I want to be sure. I want to hear the answer from your own mouth." Qiang Long Tan sighed softly and said, "If it's possible, I really don't want the relationship between his father and daughter to deteriorate to such an extent. Since you want to be sure, then I'll confirm it for you. Yes, that matter was indeed done by me." Lu Chaoga's tears flowed out of her eyes like rain. The truth was revealed. The truth of her parents' tragic death was finally revealed. After waiting for so many years, searching for so many years, suspecting for so many years, she finally got the answer to her question. Death meant never seeing each other again. Her painstaking search couldn't save her parents. What she asked for was her own peace of mind. Her parents died tragically, and she didn't even know who the murderer was, so what right did she have to be a daughter? Qiang Long Tan personally admitted that he killed her parents, which was equivalent to putting an end to the biggest worry in Lu Chaoga's heart. The dead can't come back to life. Qiang Long Tan patted Lu Chaoga's shoulder and comforted her. "I'm also very sad that something like this happened. I often think, was it wrong of me to do that? Was it too impulsive? If Mingtu didn't die, if both of them were still alive, wouldn't I have gained a close friend by my side? Wouldn't the Longtu group have gained an outstanding partner?" For a long time after Mingtu's death, I was in a dilemma. It wasn't until the real Rubik's Cube appeared that this dilemma ended. At that time, I suddenly understood something. Lu Mingtu deserves to die. They all deserve to die. I'm their friend. I'm their partner. I'm the closest person to them. Without me, what are they? All these years, how much time and effort have I invested in them? How much money and resources have I invested? They've obviously conquered the technical barrier of the Rubik's Cube. They clearly have a mature product, but they actually hid it and didn't tell me anything? Lu Chaoga, tell me, isn't this kind of person hateful? Doesn't this kind of partner deserve to die? If it were you, what would you do? I really regret it. Why did I let them die in such a beautiful country? They should die in the cold, barren mountains, die in the deserted desert, die in the stomachs of wild dogs and vultures. The kindness and kindness on Qiang Long Tan's face disappeared, replaced by a deep-seated hatred and a craziness that was about to erupt like a volcano. What have we done all these years? We've followed the wrong direction they've pointed us in over and over again, wrong again and again. I've wasted a total of 20 years. 20 years. Lu Chaoga, if I had gotten my hands on a mature Rubik's Cube 20 years ago, if I had developed the Rubik's Cube 20 years ago, do you know what would have happened? Qiang Long Tan's eyes were burning, his face full of longing as he said, "The Longtu Group would have become the greatest energy technology company of this era, second to none. Qiang Long Tan would have become the greatest entrepreneur of this era, second to none. What internet legend? What real estate tycoon? Can these be compared to the inexhaustible energy industry?" Qiang Long Tan reached out and hooked Lu Chaoga's neck, roaring like a madman. "Lu Chaoga, can you imagine? If I had the Rubik's Cube 20 years ago, what would I have achieved now? The whole world would have to shout my name. All the influential people would have to look up to my existence. Yes, I'm the king of this world. The one and only king. Lu Chaoga, everything was ruined by your father. Tell me, don't they deserve to die?" Chapter 463. Every bad guy had a unique talent. Some were ruthless, some were thick-skinned, and some were ruthless. Every one of them had something special about them. Qiang Long Tan was a master. He was not only ruthless, but also thick-skinned and ruthless. He hired assassins and let his friends and business partners die tragically in a foreign land. Years later, he accused them of keeping secrets from him and said that they deserved to die. Such a person could be called the worst kind of bad guy, right? Lu Chaoga was choked by Qiang Long Tan. She couldn't refute his accusation. She also wouldn't refute because in her eyes, Qiang Long Tan was a patient, a madman. killing his own friend because of benefits, and then accusing his friend of being disloyal to him after his friend's death. Only he could do such a thing, right? Looming too. That bastard, he wasted my precious time. He held me back for 20 years. He held me back for 20 years. Looming to looked at Lu Chaoga with a ferocious expression and asked fiercely, "Tell me, do you think he should die? So what if it's for military use? So what if it's for civilian use? Because he, a nerd, doesn't like war, he won't allow his research results to be used for military use? Stupid. Extremely stupid, didn't he know? Only military use can maximize the benefits. If I didn't seize such a good opportunity, I would regret it for the rest of my life. So I killed him. I had to kill him. If I didn't kill him, the Rubik's Cube would never be created because he was the biggest obstacle in the research room, a traitor to our group. Still want to split? Want to split Long 2 in two? That nerd, isn't he too naive? Long 2 is my life's work, my life's hope. How could I allow such a thing to happen? Understood. Understood everything. Lu Chaoga's tears flowed faster and faster, and her heart was aching more and more. She had never experienced it, and no one had ever told her about it. Her parents died in the hands of two nameless robbers. That's what everyone said, as if this was the truth of her parents' death. But she knew that wasn't the case. There must be other secrets. However, what exactly happened? Why were her parents killed? Now, she finally knew the cause and effect of the whole thing. This kind of feeling was very joyful, but also more sorrowful. She was happy that she could finally enter her parents' lives and understand some of the stories that happened when they were alive. The sad thing was, it was as if they had come back to life in their own memories and died all over again. He wanted her to suffer the pain of losing a loved one again. Cardiac shattering roar. Lu Chaoga's father, Looming 2, was a typical technical talent. His greatest achievement in life was opening Pandora's box with his own hands. At that time, the box was only half open, but his good friend and business partner, Qiang Long Tan, couldn't wait to cash in on the huge profits. He wanted to turn the Rubik's Cube into a scythe of death that harvested flesh and blood and a criminal helper that bombed civilians. Looming 2 didn't want his hands to be stained with blood. He was more inclined to commercialize the Rubik's Cube technology, bringing a better and more convenient life for people all over the world. The two of them had a conflict over the future development of the company, and the confrontation became more and more intense. The gap between the two friends grew deeper and deeper. In the end, Looming 2 didn't want his brother to turn against him, so he took the initiative to compromise and proposed to split Long 2 into two, one for civilian use and the other for military use. Qiang Long Tan thought that Looming 2 had evil intentions towards Long 2 Group, so he asked Looming 2 to go on a vacation and relax. They would discuss the division of the company when he came back. Of course, Looming 2 and his wife would never be able to return from that country in this lifetime. This was the truth behind Qiang Long Tan's murder of Looming 2. It turned out that many years ago, her father had done the same thing as her. The difference was that her father failed and paid with his life. She succeeded, but she also paid with her life. Qiang Long Tan stared at Lu Chaoga, whose face was full of tears, and said sarcastically, "What's even more ridiculous is that what Looming 2 insisted on preventing in the past was now accomplished by his own daughter. He didn't allow me to commercialize the Rubik's Cube technology, but he couldn't see his own daughter commercialize the Rubik's Cube with his own eyes. Looming 2, if you still have a spirit after your death, shouldn't you open your eyes and take a look? Look at the surprise your good daughter has brought you. Do you regret it? Regret being an idiot and a jerk. All smart people know that the Rubik's Cube can only be used for military purposes to maximize the benefits, but you just don't allow it to appear. The Rubik's Cube technology was indeed commercialized for military use, but it wasn't because of Lu Chaoga's own intentions. A world-leading energy product like the Rubik's Cube had to be strictly controlled by the country. Originally, the country had proposed to buy or invest in it, but in the end, the old master of the Qin family stepped in and suppressed the matter. However, old Master Qin also agreed to a condition of the country. The Rubik's Cube technology would become the most loyal and powerful backing of the armed country. After the establishment of Chaoyan technology, Lu Chaoga signed a cooperation contract with the military. The contents of the contract were confidential, but the Underground Research Institute of Chaoyan Technology did have a few more studios working hard in the direction of military development. Qiang Long Tan must have thrown a pawn into the Underground Research Institute of Chaoyan Technology, so it was understandable that he knew some of the situation. Old Jiang. A middle-aged man walked in and saw Qiang Long Tan holding Lu Chaoga's neck with all his might. He quickly ran over and pulled him away. Old Jiang, don't be impulsive. We haven't gotten what we want yet. What if you strangle her to death? Wouldn't you have worked hard for nothing? Under the man's dissuasion, Qiang Long Tan finally let go of Lu Chaoga's neck. Phew! Lu Chaoga's face was purple and red, and she gasped for breath. Just now, her consciousness had become blurred, but tears kept coming out of her eyes, as if she was very sad. Qiang Long Tan's hand loosened, and the expression on his face changed. He returned to his usual appearance of a kind elder, took out a handkerchief from his suit pocket, and handed it over. He said, "I'm sorry, I was too impulsive. Wipe your tears. The past is the past. We still have to look forward." Lu Chaoga didn't take the handkerchief from Qiang Long Tan. She thought it was dirty. She wiped the corners of her eyes with her sleeve, and the tears naturally stopped. She didn't like to cry. She felt that crying represented vulnerability, compromise, and all the emotions she didn't want to show to others. Qiang Long Tan looked at Lu Chaoga and said with a smile, "I don't want to kill people either. I can't kill anymore. I killed your parents, killed your aunt. If I kill you too, wouldn't that be the extermination of your family? I don't believe in ghosts or gods, and I don't believe that bad people will go to hell after they die. But people should try their best to do good deeds. So, Chaoga, you're a smart girl. Don't make things difficult for me, okay?" Lu Chaoga smiled. She was really amused by Qiang Long Tan's words. How could a cruel, bloody, and demonic scumbag say that people should try their best to do good deeds in life? Where was the virtue he had accumulated, and where was the goodness he had done? Qiang Long Tan smiled as well. He looked at Lu Chaoga and said, "Don't you find your Uncle Jiang funny?" "I know what you want," said Lu Chaoga, "but I can't give it to you. I won't give it to you." Knowing the truth, Lu Chaoga wanted nothing more than to eat his flesh and drink his blood. Of course, she wouldn't give him the Rubik's Cube. That's too irrational. Qiang Long Tan shook his head and sighed. The middle-aged man who was standing next to them walked over and looked at Lu Chaoga. "Miss, you can't be emotional. Isn't it too much of a pity to end your youth like this?" Lu Chaoga looked at the middle-aged man and found him familiar. Jiang Fengxing. The middle-aged man smiled. "You haven't seen me before, but you should know my daughter, Jiang Shangxin." Lu Chaoga nodded and said, "I understand. I understand everything." Qiang Long Tan and Jiang Fengxing from the Jiang family appeared at the scene of her kidnapping. What else couldn't she understand? She knew that the Jiang family and the Jiang family were in cahoots, and now it seemed that the relationship between the two families was indeed unusual. "It's good that you understand. I'm just afraid that you don't understand." Jiang Fengxing didn't try to hide it. "You'd better listen to your Uncle Jiang. He's at his wit's end now, so he'll do anything." Driven to a dead end? Lu Chaoga looked at Qiang Long Tan. Why would he be desperate? The Jiang family was one of the 4 major families in Huaqing. Although his Longtu group had always been under pressure from Chaoyan technology, it still firmly occupied half of the energy industry in Huaqing. He had the support of a powerful family like the Jiang family, and his son, Jiang Zhulu, was about to marry Jiang Shangxin from the Jiang family. How could such a person be desperate? "After you were kidnapped, Fang Yin went to Julio's wedding to ask for you." Qiang Long Tan smiled bitterly and said, "He stabbed the Jiang father and son again and again, and even got hold of Lu Tong's weakness to force him to betray us." Lu Tong betrayed them? Lu Chaoga was shocked. She had lived in the Jiang family for many years, and she was all too clear about Lu Tong's position in the hearts of the Jiang father and son. Lu Tong was a special person in the Jiang family. If he jumped out and stabbed the Jiang father and son, they could only suffer in silence, because Lu Tong had too many weaknesses that could be used against them. If he forced them too much, Lu Tong could completely betray them in front of everyone, unless they had a way to get rid of him. However, if that person fell into the hands of Fang Yin, he would definitely not give them a chance to do it, right? Because what he was most afraid of now was someone leaving him, just like his father did. Fang Yin was really becoming more and more mature and a trustworthy man. Chapter 464. Today was supposed to be the day of Zhu Lu and Shangxin's wedding, but Fang Yin made a scene at the wedding venue. He insisted that we were the ones who kidnapped you, and Lu Tong came out to add insult to injury. I have to say, it was a vicious move. Qiang Long Tan patted his chest and said, "A sword pierced through my heart. The wedding was ruined, the guests left, the Jiang family's reputation was ruined, and we became the laughingstock of the world. We were like stray dogs. I know you were interested in what happened after that, so I told you about it to make you happy. I can't help but admit that the man you've chosen is indeed better than Zhu Lu. Zhu Lu's life was too comfortable all these years, and I was there to protect him. He was not mature enough, and his methods were not vicious enough. It's okay. He is still a young man, and he still has a lot of room to grow. After experiencing this, I'm sure he'll comprehend some things. The Jiang family is finished, and so are we. Everyone says that a corner dog will do something desperate, but what can a person do when they are desperate? I don't know either. I really don't know. Anyway, your father wanted to split up Longtu with me, so I got someone to kill him. Now that your man, Fang Yin, has taken everything away from us, only the Rubik's Cube can save me, our reputation, and our reputation. Let us become a powerful force in Huaqing again, and let those who belittle and laugh at us look up to us again. Chaoga, give me a hand, and give me the Rubik's Cube. With the Rubik's Cube, Uncle will be able to regroup and achieve great things. When that time comes, you will be proud of me. I want you to die immediately." Lu Chaoga stared at Qiang Long Tan and said, she had never hated someone so much, and she had never wanted someone to die so much. He had done so many evil things and killed his closest family member, but he spoke to her in such a careless tone, asking for something that didn't belong to him in the first place. He didn't care about his past at all. He had only killed one person, and he could kill again. He had only done some shameful things, and he could do it again. But what could he do? He was more venomous than a poisonous snake and more vicious than a ferocious tiger. It was uglier than the ugliest creature in the world. Listening to Lu Chaoga's hatred and curses, Qiang Long Tan laughed out loud. Qiang Long Tan turned around, looked at Jiang Fengxing, and said, "Fengxing, these young people are braver than us. The older we get, the less courage we have. The more you live, the more regressive you become. That's because we care about too many things." Jiang Fengxing took out a cigarette from his pocket and put it in his mouth. "If you care about too many things, you won't be willing to die. Since we don't dare to die, then let others die," Qiang Long Tan said with a smile. "Why don't I get my little friend to bring them here?" "It's all up to you." Jiang Fengxing smiled and nodded. He clapped his hands, and the Lord God walked over with a woman upside down. He held the woman's arm in one hand and her ankle in the other. She did not look gentle at all. Bam! The Lord God threw the woman on the floor, then walked in front of Lu Chaoga, looked at her with a silly smile, and kindly reminded her, "Give them the Rubik's Cube. Otherwise, they'll really kill you. I'm also a woman, so I can understand the difficulties of being a woman very well." "Woman?" Lu Chaoga looked at the Lord God with a confused look. He had a rough face, a thick beard, and a sturdy body that looked mighty and domineering. When he moved, he looked like a small mountain. The Lord God is a woman? Lu Chaoga finally understood why the Lord God said that he didn't like women several times when he was chatting with her. She finally understood why a kidnapper would spout so much nonsense out of the blue. "Women." The Lord God patted Lu Chaoga's face and said, "Take care of yourself." Twisting his chubby butt, he elegantly walked to Jiang Fengxing and stood still beside Jiang Fengxing. Jiang Fengxing put his arm around the Lord God's shoulder. The Lord God very gently took out a lighter from his pocket and helped Jiang Fengxing light the cigarette, then said in a sweet voice, You're allowed to smoke only this one. Otherwise, you're not allowed to kiss me." Jiang Fengxing laughed and said, "Fine, I'll listen to you and only smoke this one." As he spoke, he hugged the Lord God tighter in his arms. The Lord God giggled and rubbed his sturdy body against Jiang Fengxing's chest. The two looked at each other in the eyes. Lu Chaoga turned her face away, not daring to look again. These kidnappers didn't look like kidnappers at all. After such a fall, the woman on the ground slowly woke up. And Jing, the assistant who was kidnapped with Lu Chaoga. She saw Lu Chaoga sitting on the iron bed and hurriedly shouted, "Boss!" She rushed in the direction of Lu Chaoga, but was kicked out by Qiang Long Tan. And Jing's body retreated and then heavily hit the iron table in the middle of the room. Qiang Long Tan slowly walked over. When Jing was about to get up, he grabbed her hair and pressed her body against the table again. Qiang Long Tan's body was on top of Jing's body. He looked at Jing's pretty face at close range and asked with a smile, "Are you afraid? Let me go." Jing struggled desperately. But how could her strength be greater than Qiang Long Tan's? No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't lift Qiang Long Tan's body from her chest. "Your life is not in my hands, but in Lu Chaoga's hands. Beg her. As long as you are willing to beg her, she will plead for you. I will let you go. You won't die." Qiang Long Tan tightened his grip on Jing's hair as he roared, "Beg her, quickly beg her. Don't even think about it." Jing's hair was pulled off, but she still gritted her teeth and persisted. "Very good. You're as stubborn as your boss," Qiang Long Tan said with a smile. He took out a knife with his right hand and cut off the hair in his hand. Swish, swish, swish. His right hand brandished the knife randomly, and Jing's long hair quickly turned into a hedgehog's head. It was like cutting chives with a kitchen knife. It was messy, and Jing screamed in shock, but she couldn't escape Qiang Long Tan's grasp. Lu Chaoga was just about to jump off the bed to help Jing, but before she could do so, bang! A dagger was stabbed into the bedding between her legs. It was less than a centimeter away, and the dagger could have pierced in her calf bone. The chief god glanced at Lu Chaoga and said in her sweet voice, "Don't move. Don't move. I can't guarantee that I'll stab so accurately every time." Lu Chaoga panted heavily as she sat motionlessly on the spot. Qiang Long Tan pressed down on Jing's head and raised the dagger to stab down. He said, "There's an art in the western regions called scalp painting. I've admired it for a long time, but I've never had the chance to see it. An old friend told me that he saw with his own eyes a foreign monk painting a blood-bathed peony on his scalp. Today, I'll paint a painting on your scalp. What do you think I should paint?" Jing couldn't answer, and her cries became even more tragic. Painting on a scalp? Just the thought of it made one's hair stand on end. "Stop!" Lu Chaoga shouted. The tip of the dagger in Qiang Long Tan's hand had already sliced through Jing's scalp. Blood dripped down the dagger, making for a shocking sight. The dagger in his hand stopped as he looked at Lu Chaoga and asked, "I knew you were a good child. You're cruel to yourself, but very kind to others. Why? Did you agree to give me the Rubik's Cube? Didn't you want to try painting on your scalp?" Lu Chaoga looked at Qiang Long Tan and said, "Paint on my head. It's more convenient if I don't move." Qiang Long Tan hated the words "unafraid of death." However, he had to admit that such people really existed. For example, Lu Chaoga in front of him. Qiang Long Tan rejected Lu Chaoga's request and said with a smile, "Chaoga, I'm not joking with you." "I'll really kill her, I know you're not joking," Lu Chaoga said. "You'll definitely kill us. Whether I say it or not, you won't let us go back alive. The moment you appeared in front of me with your true faces, I knew we wouldn't be able to live." Lu Chaoga was a smart person. Smart people tend to have more worries than ordinary people. For example, the moment she saw Qiang Long Tan, she knew that she wouldn't be able to leave this place alive. Qiang Long Tan was a hypocrite, and a hypocrite cherished his reputation the most. The fact that he appeared in front of Lu Chaoga without any disguise meant that he already had the intention to kill her. Qiang Long Tan smiled bitterly and said, "You really know me well." "That's right. This is indeed my style of doing things. We didn't wear masks because we didn't feel the need to hide anymore. Before you leave, there are a lot of things I need to clarify with you. You're a good girl, and I don't want you to leave with grief and regret. I know you're not afraid of death, and I know your followers are very brave. But, Chowga, there are many kinds of death. There's also another kind, which is living a life worse than death. What kind of pain was living a life that was more difficult than death? The knife in Jiang Longtan's hand was slicing at Njing's scalp, preparing to complete the work in his heart. He said, "Look, painting on a scalp. This feeling is worse than death. The painting is done, and the person is still alive. The blood is the most natural paint. Lu Chowga, have you ever seen a painting like this?" Bastard. Lu Chowga cursed through gritted teeth. When a person was this shameless, there was nothing anyone could do about it. Before, King Long Tan had to pretend to be a good person and maintain his great image, so he had to suppress the evil in his heart. Now, he could finally display his talent for evil without any scruples. Chapter 465. When King Longtan was focused on completing his masterpiece, Feng Xing also patted the Lord God's bearded face and said, "Old Jiang is busy. We can't be idle. Go, bring those two guys over. Since Miss Lu likes acting so much, let's also add some fun to her." The Lord God laughed and said, "That will be lively." He turned around and quickly returned with two men in black who were tied up tightly. He threw the two men in black on the ground, letting them struggle and twist. The rope was made of high-tech fiber. The more intense the resistance, the tighter the binding. These were Lu Chowga's driver Zheng Xiang and bodyguard Bookworm, both of whom were also kidnapped with Lu Chowga. The driver Zheng Xiang was still trying, and Bookworm stopped moving after a little testing. Before having the confidence to break out in one fell swoop, try not to do anything suspicious. If the opponent is angered, it is likely to bring danger to your own life. The Lord God stepped on the driver Zheng Xiang's back with one foot and asked with a smile, "What? Are you afraid of death? Do you want to live?" The driver did not respond and struggled even more fiercely. The Lord God looked at Lu Chowga and said with a smile, "You see, he wants to live, but in the end, he will die because of you." The Lord God patted Zheng Xiang's head that was desperately trying to raise inside. "Who told you to be a nobody? The fate of a nobody is just a way to be cannon fodder. It has been like this since ancient times." The Lord God's knees bent slightly, and the sharp blade in his hand stabbed down. Screech! The sound of the sharp blade cutting through flesh was heard. The dagger with 21 barbs stabbed into the driver Zheng Xiang's back. Zheng Xiang's raised head paused in midair for 2 seconds and then fell down heavily. His body twitched violently on the floor, and his mouth vomited large mouthfuls of bright red blood. Screech! The Lord God pulled out the dagger from Zheng Xiang's body without hesitation. The barb brought out pieces of meat and a pool of blood. The Lord stretched out his finger and gently scraped a drop of blood on the blade. He put it in his mouth and sucked it. He turned to look at Lu Chowga and said, "Look, you killed him. No matter what, this is a human life." Zheng Xiang's back was bleeding, and Lu Chowga's heart was bleeding. She had experienced such a scene countless times, and every time she experienced it, she would feel a deep sorrow that was hard to suppress. Humans were not animals, so why did they have to kill each other? That taciturn but loyal driver, what crime did he commit? For the sake of profit, they could casually take away other people's lives. "You will get what you deserve," Lu Chowga said through gritted teeth. She bit her tongue, and her mouth was filled with the sweet taste of blood. She had purposely bitten her tongue. That was the only way she could remain rational and clear-headed. "You will all die a horrible death. That's a matter for the future," the Lord God said with a smile. "I said I like to kill, but you didn't believe me. Look, my interest is now completely aroused by you. What game is more addictive than this?" The Lord God walked up to the bookworm and stepped on the Lord God's chest with one foot like before. He said, "I just pierced his heart from the back. This time, I will stab you through the heart from the front. While you look at me, let me stab you through the heart. At that time, you are not completely dead, and your brain can still stay awake. I will pull out the knife when you look at me, And then you can hear the sound of rustling flesh and the knife rubbing against each other. Have you used a knife to cut a piece of paper? Have you used a knife to cut tofu? Yes, that's the sound. These are all my leftovers. The Lord God said, "Do you have any new tricks?" The Lord God looked at the bookworm's calm eyes, smiled and nodded, and said, "I almost forgot. You are different from them. You used to be brilliant, the king of the mercenary world. The king of soldiers returned and became a dog of the Chin family, but I still respect you. Tell me, how do you want to die?" The bookworm thought about it seriously and said, "When I was in North Africa, I often played a scarecrow game with people. You would stab people with knives, and the one who could stab the most and still survive was the winner. The person with the most knives was the final winner, the scarecrow. When I played before, I was the winner every time. My highest record was 412 knives. However, I used to be the stabber and never had the chance to become a scarecrow. Why don't you help me today?" The Lord God's face was full of excitement, and his eyes glowed with excitement. He liked to kill people, and he liked to kill different people, and he liked to kill different people. He had heard of the scarecrow game, but he had never played it. This was not only a novel way of killing, but it also challenged the psychological quality and knife technique of the stabber. Stabbing a knife into a person's body over and over again and not killing them immediately, just thinking about it made one's blood boil. If the stabber's psychological quality was not up to standard or the knife technique was not agile and delicate enough, it was easy to stab people to death. Moreover, the bookworm said that his highest record was 412 knives. How many knives could he stab? Could he break the bookworm's record? Those who were skilled were bold. As a swordsman, he was itching to compete with his opponent. The Lord God was hesitating whether to agree to the bookworm's request for death, but Fengxing stopped him from behind and said, "Don't be bewitched by him. He just wants to buy some time for Lu Chaoga with his own death." Stabbing a person hundreds of knives and not killing them immediately is a contradiction in itself. I'm afraid it will take a lot of time, right? By time, the Lord God sneered and said, "What can they do? Even if they are given more time, what can they do? Do they still think that someone will come to save them?" The Lord God looked at Lu Xiaoga with a face full of sarcasm and said, "Miss Lu, I advise you to give up such unrealistic ideas, because it will only bring you despair. You must not know where we are now. We are on the sea, above a sea that no one knows. Even if your little lover turns watching upside down, he can't find your whereabouts, nor can he find this place. Even we don't know where this is. How could he know? On the sea? They were kidnapped on the sea. Lu Chaoga was completely desperate. The sky was blue. The sea was vast. How vast was the sea? It was so big that people lost their direction. What was worse, if they were on land, people would leave clues as long as they ate, drank, and defecated. If Feng Yin was smart and attentive, he might have a way to find out where they were hiding. However, if they were on the sea, it would really be a classic line in a TV series. You can scream, "It's useless even if you break your throat." There is no chance of survival. After understanding this problem, Lu Chaoga was even less likely to hand over the Rubik's Cube. They were all going to die anyway. It was just a matter of dying sooner or later. Driver Zheng Xiang was going to die. Bookworm was going to die. And Jing was also going to die. It would be her turn in the end. They were making her suffer mental torture now, and after they killed all the people around her, they would make her suffer mental and physical torture. Without getting the Rubik's Cube, they would not give up. Zheng Xiang was bleeding, and then Jing was screaming. Bookworm's eyes were blood red as he stared at the Lord God and roared, "What? You don't dare? 412 stabs. Are you afraid that you can't surpass me? Are you afraid that you can't break my record? Come on, I'll keep track of every stab you make. I will grit my teeth and hold on until you stab 413. The Lord God was getting more and more tempted. He turned to look at Jiang Fengxing and said, "Since Feng Yin can't find us, it proves that we have enough time. Don't you want to see my knife skills? I promise I won't let you down. If you have time, just let me be willful for once, okay?" Jiang Fengxing smiled at Qiang Longtan. Qiang Longtan said, "Let's get down to business. We can't give our opponent any chances." Qiang Longtan was such a cautious man. Even if he had 100% control over the situation, he still didn't want to make the slightest mistake. It was shameful to fail in such a simple task. What a shame. The Lord God licked his lips and looked at Bookworm. Seems like I can't let you have your way, coward. Bookworm spat in disdain. Sissy, the Lord God's eyes became even redder as he spoke. I definitely don't care if you call me a sissy, because I really want to be a woman. Isn't it great to be a woman? How can a man be tired? He slightly bent his knees, raised the dagger with both hands, and looked at Bookworm. However, I've decided to give you a new way to die. I'll make you watch as I cut open your chest and pull out your first organ for you to see. You've never seen this before, have you? After saying that, the Lord God raised the dagger and stabbed it down towards Bookworm's chest. Shoo! A very faint sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. The dagger in the Lord God's hand changed from a stab to a slash, cutting the object flying towards him in half. Pow! The two halves of the object fell at the same time. It turned out to be a small red snake that had been cut in half. Red snake blood flowed and spread on the ground. The small and ugly snake head was still hissing and chirping. The door to the room was pushed open from the outside as a short, skinny man walked in with an expressionless face. Behind him stood a young man in a black robe. The man glanced at the tragic scene in the room. His expression became cold as he spoke. All of you must die. Chapter 466. The red-heart snake's tail was still wriggling, slapping the cabin board. Other than that, there was no other sound. Fong Yan's sudden appearance made the bustling room suddenly quiet down, so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. Why did Fong Yan come? Fong Yan really came? And Jing's head was dripping with blood, but she stopped screaming. Bookworm's eyes turned cold, and he began to look for an opportunity to escape. Lu Chaoga's expression was ecstatic. This joy was undisguised, and her heart was filled with happiness. She had prepared herself for the worst, when she had already believed that she would die. But Fong Yan came from the sky. What kind of man could be called a flirty man? Only a man who could make people feel warm and excited could be called a flirty man. What kind of man could be called a Prince Charming? Only a man who came from the sky like a god. An omnipotent man could be called a Prince Charming. In Lu Chaoga's mind, Fong Yan was the representative of flirty man and Prince Charming. He represented two terms at once. However, in the eyes of Qiang Long Tan and Jiang Fengxing, Fong Yan's appearance was an accident, a disaster. Qiang Long Tan's face was full of disbelief. He stared at Fong Yan and asked, "Impossible. How did you get here? How did you find this place?" For this kidnapping, he and Jiang Fengxing had put in a lot of effort. They deliberated and arranged it carefully, sending the Mercedes-Benz into the truck, sending the truck into the container, and then sending the container to the freighter. Now the freighter was sailing on the distant sea, heading towards the Pacific Ocean. They tried to leave no traces. They thought that Fong Yan would not be able to find Lu Chaoga's whereabouts no matter how hard he tried. But what were the two lumps standing at the door? Surprised, Fong Yan stared coldly at Qiang Long Tan, as if looking at a dead man. "Why do I not feel surprised to see you?" "I don't feel surprised at all, but you are too disgusting." "You knew it was me?" Qiang Long Tan's mind spun rapidly. The moment Fong Yan appeared, he had already thought of the cause and effect of the matter and various possibilities. Is there even a need to guess? Although you have repeatedly said in the media that you are willing to deepen the cooperation with Chao Yan, but everyone knows that you are greedy for the Rubik's Cube. Chao Yan and Lu Chaoga have been in constant trouble for the past few years, and the number of engineers who died in Chao Yan's underground research facility is uncountable. If it weren't for the support of the Qin family, the research facility would have fallen into a difficult situation where there were no engineers available. I don't want to believe that the Jiang family played a part in this. Qiang Long Tan stopped what he was doing. He was still not good at being an artist. His hands were covered in blood, and even the blade of the knife was dripping with blood. Everyone is doing it. If our Jiang family doesn't do it, wouldn't we be too different? Qiang Long Tan said with a smile. He released the silence. He knew that he no longer had a chance to kill Jing. Besides, whether Jing died or not, He really didn't care at all. And Jing got up from the table and ran to Lu Chaoga's side. Lu Chaoga immediately helped her bandage. Snake Lord took out a gray porcelain bottle from his pocket and threw it over. After Lu Chaoga caught the bottle, she uncorked it and poured the entire bottle of powder onto Jing's head. After quickly bandaging Jing, Lu Chaoga rushed to Zheng Xiang's side and flipped his body over. Lu Chaoga reached out and found that Zheng Xiang's heart had stopped beating and his breathing had stopped. His body was cold, and it seemed that he had been dead for some time. His eyes were wide open, and he died with a grievance. Lu Chaoga closed his eyes and took off her suit jacket to cover his face. You had long guessed that it was me, so you caused a scene at the wedding and forced the Jiang father and son into a desperate situation. I had no choice but to take the risk and pin all my hopes on Lu Chaoga's Rubik's Cube. If it weren't for the Jiang family's passive position after the wedding incident, I wouldn't have been in a hurry to get a result. I would have locked them up for 3 to 5 months, or even a year and a half. My greatest strength is patience, and I was confident that I would eventually defeat and convince them. If I hadn't come, you would never have found this place. So, this was also part of your plan. You used the trick of chasing the tiger down the mountain to find Lu Chaoga's whereabouts for me. Qiang Long Tam looked at Fang Yin with a puzzled look and said, "What I don't understand is, how did you find this place?" This was an uninhabited sea. Without someone to navigate and guide them, it would have been impossible for them to reach this place. How did Fang Yin do it? Was there a traitor by his side? Qiang Long Tan inadvertently glanced at Jiang Fengxing and ruled out this possibility. If the plan to kidnap Lu Chaoga was made by him, then the real executor was Jiang Fengxing. Jiang Fengxing was more invested in this than himself, and he had a lot of benefits on Lu Chaoga. What reason did he have to betray him? Betray the plan to kidnap the goddess? After Qiang Long Tan was betrayed by Lu Tong once, it was very difficult for him to trust anyone again, including his current partner. Qiang Long Tan, I admit that you are a very smart person and a natural conspirator. No one is more vicious than you, and no one is more vicious than you. You didn't trust Lu Tong for a long time, so you arranged for him to be by your son Jiang Zhuliu's side. You single-handedly planned the kidnapping of Lu Chaoga, but I'm afraid even your own son didn't know about it, right? Qiang Long Tan, in this world, having no one to trust, is it very sad? Lu Tong knows too many secrets. If you want to have a good ending, it's best for you to escape in time. I sent him to Jiang Zhuliu's side to give him a way out. How can you say that I don't trust him? No matter what reason he has, he stood on your side and stabbed me. That's not just because he doesn't trust me. As for Jiang Zhuliu, he's still a young man. He always pretends to be mature, but deep down, he's still a kid who hasn't grown up. Why would you let a kid know so many dirty things? Qiang Long Tan still didn't give up. He kept staring at Fang Yin and asked, "You still haven't told me. How did you find this place?" "Because I planted a tracking device on you." Fang Yin said sarcastically, "As long as you're human, there will be traces of your existence." "That's impossible." Qiang Long Tan immediately refuted. "Before I boarded the ship, I used a sophisticated device to check my body. I don't have any suspicious objects on me. We're confident about that." "Who said the device can definitely detect you?" Fang Yin sneered. The Snake Lord whistled. A hair-thin black snake crawled out from Qiang Long Tan's hair. It coiled up in the middle of his hair, blending in with his hair. It was hard to distinguish with the naked eye. If it didn't pop out to look around, you'd only see it as a slightly thicker strand of hair. Fang Yin was worried about Lu Chaoga's kidnapping. On one hand, he sent people to ask around for Lu Chaoga's whereabouts. On the other hand, he and Qining and the others used the elimination method to analyze who was the most likely suspect. Fang Yin used one night to look through all the information on the crises that Chao Yin and Lu Chaoga had encountered in the past 3 years. Finally, he locked onto the Jiang father and son. At this time in Huaqing, there was a huge conflict of interest. Furthermore, there were only a few people who had the ability to kidnap Lu Chaoga without anyone knowing. The Jiang father and son were the biggest suspects. Therefore, Fang Yin caused a ruckus at Jiang Zhuliu's wedding. forcing the Jiang father and son into a dead end. Then, he formed an alliance with Lu Tong, giving the Jiang father and son the deepest and most painful stab. When Fang Yin left with Lu Shu and Lan Shanggu, it was the same as taking away all the Jiang family's energy and spirit. His skeleton was also shattered with a single slap. Qianglong Tan was eager for revenge, so he could only seek revenge from Lu Chaoga, who was already held hostage by him. At the wedding venue, when Zhang Longtan jumped down from the stage and wanted Fang Yin to punch and kick him a few times, the two of them were very close to each other, giving Fang Yin an opportunity. He flicked the blind black dragon, who could communicate with the female snake through ventriloquism, into Qianglong Tan's hair. Any tracking device could be detected by more advanced detection devices. However, if he used the blind black dragon, this possibility would not exist. The blind black dragon was a fleshly animal. It didn't have any metal or chips. Moreover, the blind black dragon communicated with the female snake through ventriloquism. As long as its abdomen wriggled, it would produce a special wave. When the female snake received the wave signal, it would follow. After Fang Yin placed the blind black dragon on Qianglong Tan, he ordered Snake Lord to monitor him closely. Sure enough, Qianglong Tan didn't make them wait for too long. When the whole world thought he would close his door to heal, he slipped out of the house in the middle of the night in disguise. When he arrived at the port and was about to board the ship, Fang Yin had a rough idea of where Lu Chaoga was going. However, the sea was vast. It was easier said than done to find a person or a ship on the surface of the sea. If they were too close, they would be easily discovered. If they were too far away, they would easily lose track of them. Qianglong Tan was too cunning. They had to spend a lot of effort to follow behind him without him noticing. However, it would still take a lot of time to find the cargo ship. Fang Yin and the Snake Lord took the boat and circled the sea for a long time before they finally confirmed their target. Qianglong Tan couldn't see the black snake above his head, but he noticed something strange from the frightened eyes of others. He held the dagger and swung it above his head. Hiss! The blind black dragon didn't have eyes, but it was the most agile snake species. When it sensed danger, it immediately took the initiative to attack its prey. Ah! Qianglong Tan screamed. The back of his hand was bitten by the blind black dragon. Chapter 467. The blind black dragon was a tracking snake. Its body was like hair and it had little venom. Its toxicity was slightly stronger than that of ordinary snakes, but it was far less deadly than the other snakes raised by the Snake Lord. At first, Qianglong Tan only felt that the back of his hand had been pecked by a poisonous snake, and a small red spot appeared on it, like a mosquito bite. Soon, the spot began to slowly expand into a purple-red bruise. With this bruise as the center, the surrounding skin and flesh quickly changed color. In the end, the whole palm turned pitch black, as if it had been dyed by ink. Qianglong Tan's expression was horrified. He looked at his palm and forgot to swing his knife again. After biting Qianglong Tan, the blind black dragon fell to the ground. Summoned by the female snake's aura, it took the initiative to rush in the direction of the Snake Lord. The black snake crawled silently along the Snake Lord's shoes and soon disappeared on the Snake Lord's body. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. Maybe he was already reunited with the female snake. A tuft of black hair scattered on the ground. It was Qianglong Tan who had felt the danger above his head and swung his knife down. The Snake Lord looked at Qianglong Tan coldly and said, "Don't move. Don't move. The more you move, the faster the poison will spread in your body. When this black spot spreads to your whole body, your organs will fail and your body functions will degenerate. You will rot and die." The blind black dragon was a tracking snake, and it didn't have strong attack power or strong venom. It tried its best to bite out and spray all the venom in its body, but it could only infect an adult's arm. As for the organ failure and body functions degeneration that the Snake Lord said, it was impossible for the body to rot and die. The smarter a person was, the more suspicious they were, and the smarter they were, the more afraid they were of death. After listening to the Snake Lord's words, King Long Tan didn't dare to move again. The god looked at Fong Yin charmingly and said with a smile, "Oh, you're the pretty boy Fong Yin that Miss Lu is thinking about? Not bad. At first, I thought that the gigolo was just a little good-looking. He had no ability and no sense of responsibility. He only knew how to rely on his natural good looks to play with the feelings of us girls." Fong Yin silently looked at the Lord God's bearded face, as well as the delicate voice and movements when he spoke, and sneered in his heart. "Play with your feelings? In your dreams. I didn't expect you to actually find me, and I didn't expect you to really dare to come. Fong Yin, you're really a man." Such a man was indeed worthy of girls' liking. Miss Lu was willing to die for you, and you were willing to die for her. What a pair of ill-fated mandarin ducks. The fingers of the Lord God rotated gently, and a strangely shaped barbed dagger in his wrist spun one beautiful knife flower after another. Step by step, he walked toward Fong Yin and said, "I like to have a lover. Therefore, I will be very gentle to you." As the Lord God spoke, his body suddenly pounced towards Fong Yin. His feet stamped on the ground, and his burly body jumped high. The dagger in his hand was raised high, and the sharp dagger blade pierced the top of Fong Yin's head. He wanted to insert the dagger in his hand into the top of Fong Yin's head and harvest Fong Yin's life in the most direct and cruel way. When the Lord God stood still, he was like a hill. When he ran and sprinted to attack, his body became as flexible as a rabbit. Moreover, that flexible waist gave people a somewhat enchanting feeling. His body flying in the air made no sound, like a fish swimming in deep water, like an eagle flying in the sky. The dagger he stabbed out did not make any sound, as if the dagger did not have any strength on it. But wherever his dagger passed, there was a pale red light. Fast. His speed was too fast. Because it was fast, the speed left the sound far behind. When you saw the dagger he swung out, the sound of the dagger was still slow to come. It was indeed extraordinary to be able to use a weapon to such an extent. The Snake Lord did not rush up to fight back. He even took half a step in the direction of Lu Chaoga. He used his body to block in front of Lu Chaoga to prevent Feng Xing, who was watching the battle, from hurting Lu Chaoga. He knew that Fong Yin was crazy, and he needed to find an opportunity to vent the anger in his heart. Fong Yin also stood still, as if he was at a loss in the face of the Lord God's attack. Hiss! It was not until the dagger was about to be inserted into the top of Fong Yin's head like a green rainbow that the sound it caused was heard. However, the sound was not the sound of the dagger, but the sound of the air being ignited by the heat wave emitted by the dagger itself. Fong Yin waved his hand. It seemed that it was true. He just raised his right hand toward the air. Then, the Lord God retreated. Fong Yin was surprised, and the Lord God was even more surprised. "How did you do it?" the Lord God asked in surprise. "Just now, what happened?" Fong Yin was surprised that he had just used a move of Dragon Catcher to grab the main vein of the Lord God's wrist, but he had touched nothing. This was not a simple Dragon Catcher, but a Dragon Catcher when the heart of Tai Chi was spinning wildly and the Tai Chi domain had been fully developed. This move should be called Tai Chi Dragon Catcher. The Lord God was surprised that there was someone faster than him. Although the Lord God was burly, he was good at physical flexibility and agility. He learned tap dance from a professional dance teacher when he was a child, and he also participated in world-class tap dance competitions when he was a teenager. It was not until he was discovered by the mutants that he gave up dancing and became the current Lord God. The reason why the Lord God was nicknamed the Lord God was because his attacks were always successful. Within his attack range, no one could avoid his dagger. Just like the divine domain, he was the master of the domain. However, in the process of competing in speed in this round, the Lord God lost to Fong Yin. What he thought was a safe attack had failed. If he had not retracted his saber quickly, Fong Yin would have seized the meridians on his wrist, and he would have become a prisoner. The Lord God was proud, and he would not allow such a failure to happen to him. His fingers kept flicking, and the sharp dagger in his hand seemed to have a life of its own, making dazzling and wonderful knife moves one after another. The Lord God's big beard face stretched out, and he grinned and looked at Fong Yin and said, "Interesting. It's really interesting. No one could keep up with my pace before. I didn't expect to meet an opponent today. It's a pity. I've heard of your name for a long time. 3 years ago, you fought the Japanese sword god Chiba Hashirama at the top of One Sword Peak. I thought you were just undeserved and had been elevated by others. It's really a surprise to try it today. I want to apologize to you. You're not a pretty boy. At least you're not a good-for-nothing pretty boy." The Lord God licked his lips and made a greedy and bloodthirsty gesture. He bowed slightly, and the dagger in his hand stopped spinning. He held the dagger upside down in his right hand, stared at Fong Yin with sharp eyes, and said, "Tai Chi? Is that the legendary heart of Tai Chi? Although I didn't know what happened just now, then try to take another move from me." The Lord God's body began to spin, spinning counterclockwise, like a top that could summon a hurricane. The strong airflow filled this narrow space. Kang Long Tan's hair was flying in the wind, and even the iron chair was rolled up by him. The Lord God's body turned and spun up. At the same time, he had turned into a vague shadow. Phew! The speed of the Lord God's rotation did not slow down, and he and his knife turned into a tangible but intangible shadow, bursting out with bright cold electricity. Around Fong Yin, he had turned 7 or 8 times in an instant. There were dozens of cold electricity in each circle, stabbing at Fong Yan's body from any possible or impossible angle. Wind Shadow Knife Technique. Fong Yin was secretly surprised that the Lord God's Wind Shadow Knife Technique had reached a high level. The naked eye could only catch the shadow of the wind, but could not see the real trace. Each knife seemed to be scattered, but nearly 100 knives were connected to form an impenetrable knife net. A knife was connected to a knife, and a ring was connected to a ring. It made people's bodies tense and their hearts depressed. Killing Array. This was the power formed after the great success of the knife technique, killing with array. As long as you entered the array, there was no place to hide. However, he smiled coldly and said, "You actually dare to show off in front of me with your weak wind shadow saber technique? Who gave you such confidence?" The Lord God's voice came out of the tornado and said, "When I kill you, you will know where my confidence comes from." Fong Yan's words completely angered the Lord God. He spun faster, and the frequency of his knife was higher. Every knife stabbed at Fong Yan's vital points. Fong Yan's eyes were tightly shut, and he stood there without moving. He was waiting for the Lord God to show his true body. Because Fong Yin knew very well that the Lord God's continuous attacks were all illusory moves. The real killing move had not appeared yet. The Lord God was looking for the best gap, and Fong Yin was also looking for an opportunity to break the enemy. Fong Yin seemed to be impatient and reached out to grab the black shadow. Chirp! The wind stopped, and the Lord God's body finally appeared. He finally waited for the opportunity and stabbed at Fong Yan's chest. One-hit kill. Whoosh! Fong Yin lightly stretched out his hand. As if waiting for 1,000 years, his hand just happened to block the Lord God's attack route. He reached out and grabbed the Lord God's arm in the palm of his hand. "You all deserve to die," Fong Yin said coldly. He really hated these scumbags. Gotcha! Fong Yin used his strength and directly broke one of the Lord God's arms. Chapter 468. Crack. The first sound was the crushing of gravity. It was as if the shell of a peanut in the palm had been crushed. Fong Yin didn't stop there. He was still exerting force with the hand that was holding the Overgod's arm. His expression was cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent, like a vengeful demon king who had fallen into an extreme state of madness. "You people never know what a lesson is," Fong Yin said coldly. "Since you don't know what a lesson is, I'll let you know what savagery is." Fong Yan's right hand kept kneading, and surging waves of hidden force gushed out. This was the Tai Chi soft force. Although there was the word soft in its name, it was the most brutal and overbearing force. The Overgod's bones were wrapped by the soft force, and then tightened and compressed. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of bones breaking rang out incessantly, like the sound of peanuts being crushed into powder. Fong Yin used the great dragon catcher hand to lock the meridians on the overgod's wrist, and no matter how hard the overgod tried, he couldn't break free. When Fong Yin broke the bones in his arm, he felt a heart-wrenching pain. When Fong Yin directed the unparalleled soft force to smash and crush himself again and again, he could no longer feel any pain, because he realized that he had suddenly lost contact with the arm that was holding the saber. It was as if his arm had been cut off by a saber. For a split second, he couldn't feel any pain. Fong Yin looked at the overgod's frightened and increasingly violent and vicious eyes and said, "What's the most painful pain? It's not feeling pain, but knowing that something is leaving you." Fong Yixing's death was what Fong Yin felt. This kind of pain was the most corrosive to a person's will and the most difficult to extricate oneself from. Fong Yin took the dagger from the overgod's hand, the dagger with barbs on it. At this time, the overgod no longer had any strength to resist. It was not difficult to beat someone, but it was difficult to send someone away. It was not difficult to send someone away, but it was difficult to take someone away. True experts weren't good at beating people up, but they could easily send people flying a few meters away. It's not hard to give someone away, but it's hard to take someone away. It means that as long as he lightly touches your body, you won't be able to move at all. What Fong Yin was using now was the take formula. Like a dragon bind, it made a supreme expert like the Lord God lose the ability to move. Fear, hatred, helplessness, and other emotions that were hard to describe. However, he said disdainfully, "Is this your so-called wild nature? If that's all, it would be too disappointing. I have to say, in terms of interrogation, you guys are far inferior to us who survived the battlefield." "Bookworm, don't you think so?" The bookworm was still lying on the ground. He was tied up with layers and layers of ropes. If one did not rely on external help, it would be very difficult to untie this kind of knot known as the 98 knots. The Lord God still maintained his self-awareness. Unfortunately, this did not affect the battle at all. "Is that so?" Fong Yin glanced at Bookworm and asked aloud. "Yes." Bookworm nodded. Just now they wanted to play with the scarecrow and paint on the scalp. Compared with what you're doing now, it's really much more high-end. "Oh, I've heard of scarecrows before. If you stab a living person with knives, the one who stabs the most knives and doesn't die will be the final winner. The last person who gets stabbed will have knives all over his body, just like a scarecrow." Was painting on the scalp. As Fong Yin spoke, the dagger in his hand slammed into the Lord God's heart. The dagger was sharp and didn't require much strength. He didn't use too much strength either. He held the dagger and slowly pushed it into the Lord God's body. Very gentle and very affectionate. Every time he pushed, the Lord God's expression became more ferocious. With every centimeter, the Lord God's body trembled once. When the blade touched the pericardium, the Lord God's body trembled particularly violently. Although he didn't have the internal vision function, he could clearly feel the movement of the knife in the body, knowing when it pierced the skin, when it pierced the flesh, and when it would pierce the heart. The heart was pierced, and the person was going to die. The Lord God was not afraid of death, because death was another journey for him. However, he was afraid of such a way of death. He was afraid of this kind of feeling that the dagger was swimming in a body, but he didn't have the right to choose to let it move forward or backward. Fong Yin used the knife to tell you that you were going to die, but you didn't know when you would die. This sense of oppression before death was a destruction of confidence and the most powerful blow to the psychological defense line. The knife stopped moving outside the pericardium, but it moved back. There were 12 barbs on the dagger, and every time it moved back, a piece of flesh would be torn from the internal organs. The twitching was also very slow, so that the Lord God clearly felt the pain of his limbs being cut by him. The Lord God finally became a little impatient and said in a fierce voice, "Pretty boy, give me a hard stab if you have the guts. Let me die happily. Don't be so wishy-washy like a woman. What kind of friendship do I have with you? Why do you make such a rude request to me?" Fong Yin said sarcastically, "I will let you die painfully, but not quickly." He wanted to slowly torture the Lord God to death, just like they wanted to torture Lu Chaoga and the bodyguards and secretaries around her to death. Fang Yin turned to look at Qiang Longtan and Feng Xing, who was looking at him calmly, and said, "Don't worry. You too. It will be your turn soon. We are still on the vast sea. Whether it is going to the destination you set before or returning, we have a lot of time to be together. Don't worry. Don't worry." Jiang Fengxing put his hand in his pocket and immediately threatened, "You'd better not move, or else I can take your life without the others doing anything." Jiang Fengxing turned a deaf ear to such a threat. He still took out a cigarette from his pocket, put it in his mouth, lit the cigarette with a lighter, took a deep puff, and blew out a smoke bubble. After that, he looked at the Snake Lord and said, "Can I even smoke before I die?" The Snake King stared at Jiang Fengxing, fiddling with a small golden snake in his hand, but didn't answer Jiang Fengxing's question. He was as sensitive as an animal, and he felt that Jiang Fengxing was more complicated than he showed. Jiang Fengxing was not interested in bickering with the Snake King. He looked at Fang Yin and said, "I know, you want to kill the Lord God in the cruelest way, then let us suffer in pain and arouse our fear of death. You want to kill us when we beg you for mercy. Wouldn't that give you a greater sense of achievement?" Jiang Fengxing looked at him with disdain and said, "Winner takes all. If we lose, we lose. We won't beg you for mercy. We won't even negotiate with you. Fang Yin, I know what kind of person you are. I don't expect you to let us go, and I know you won't let us go either. Since we can't negotiate, death is our only choice. So tell me, what's the point of all this? Isn't it just death? Since we're going to die, what's there to be afraid of? What's there to be coerced?" Jiang Fengxing looked at the Lord God with a gentle smile, eyes filled with affection, and said softly, "You go first, I'll follow you." The Lord God felt warm in his heart. He grinned and said, "Good. I'll wait for you down there, but I hope I won't see you. Fengxing, I'm honored to be your woman. The days with you are the happiest days of my life. Goodbye, Fengxing." The Lord God said goodbye to Jiang Fengxing with affection. When he was about to bite his fangs, a strong poison came from his heart. Because the pain was too great, it made his powerless body even more powerless. The Lord God's teeth were forced to stop because he no longer had the strength to bite. A fishy taste came from his throat as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The dagger went straight into the Lord God's heart. The ominous glint in the Lord God's eyes faded, as did the malice on his face. He looked at Jiang Fengxing with gentle eyes. That was the most beautiful scene before he left. His body gradually softened, then was thrown to the ground by Fang Yin, becoming an abandoned corpse. "God!" Jiang Fengxing shouted with a sorrowful expression. "Fang Yin, you killed my God." He made to run towards the Lord God, but his feet didn't move forward. He pressed the lighter in his hand. Crack! A light, crisp sound could be heard. The Lord God's body turned into a bomb, exploding with a boom. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Countless red and white objects covered the floor, turning the cabin into a hell of azura. The man who claimed to love had already planted a bomb in the body of the one he loved, and the engine of the bomb was the lighter in his hand. In the face of danger, he pressed the button without any hesitation. On the battlefield of love, whoever paid more would die more miserably. The Snake Lord reacted quickly, turning around and pushing Lu Chaoga and the secretary to the ground. Although the bookworm was tied up with ropes, he still rolled wildly on the ground to save his life. Jiang Fengxing took the opportunity to turn and run towards the door. He prepared a kayak on the ship. As long as he found an opportunity, he could drive the kayak away from this dangerous place. His right hand pulled open the door of the room, and his left foot had already stepped out. However, his right foot couldn't step out. He felt a chill on his neck, and then his body was lifted back. "I said, you all have to die," the familiar and annoying man's voice said in his ear. Chapter 469. In Nejiang Lake, there was a senior surnamed Lin who had neither high virtue nor high prestige, who once said that the most important rule in Jianghu was only one word: fight if you can win, run if you can't. Jiang Fengxing wasn't a member of the martial world, and he had never heard of this man named Lin. However, he clearly understood that if he didn't run now, he would die. In order to keep the secret of kidnapping Lu Chaoga, they tried their best to reduce the number of people involved. Except for Qiang Long Tan, who was the main planner, only Jiang Fengxing and a few people he trusted were responsible for the execution. None of Qiang Long Tan's people in the Flower City were useful. Even Qiang Long Tan's son Jiang Zhulu and his steward Lu Tong knew nothing about this. Fang Yin came to Jiang Zhulio's wedding to ask for Lu Chaoga, which made Jiang Zhulu extremely angry. He believed that Fang Yin was slandering him and wanted to ruin his and his father's reputation with this, so that the marriage between the Jiang family and the Jiang family would fail. If Jiang Zhulu knew that his father was on this cargo ship, his expression would be quite interesting, wouldn't it? Now, Fang Yin and his snake-playing friend pushed open the door and walked in, which meant that the few guards outside had all been taken care of by them. Their biggest support, the main god, was already dead, and Qiang Long Tan was poisoned by the snake. What else could stop Fang Yin from taking his revenge? Let me go. Jiang Fengxing didn't have the strength to struggle, so he could only threaten loudly. Fang Yin, let me go. I'm a member of the Jiang family. You better not touch me. If you dare to touch me, you will become the enemy of the Jiang family. Are you ready? Do you really want to become the enemy of the Jiang family? Lion? What did you just say the Jiang family is? Fang Yin lifted Jiang Fengxing up, sneered, and asked, a lion? So what if it's a lion? Isn't it still an animal? Fang Yin, you. Jiang Fengxing yelled in anger. The Jiang family was the Jiang family, respected and feared by everyone. Because he was a member of the Jiang family, everyone had to hold him high above their heads when he walked outside. To suddenly meet someone who did not place the Jiang family in his eyes, this feeling was rather unfamiliar. I don't want to be enemies with anyone, but if someone wants to hurt the people around me, I won't hesitate to make the whole world my enemy. It doesn't matter if he's a lion or a wolf, a tiger or a mad dog. This was Fang Yan's current state of mind. It was the greatest realization Fang Yixing had after dying in battle. At that time, Fang Yin was kind, passive, undisciplined, and didn't want to take on any responsibilities. He was a young man who didn't want to be enemies with anyone. However, when his father, Fang Yixing, died in battle, and when he rushed over, he could only carry his father's cold corpse back. The pain of being separated by life and death tore his body apart, causing him to grow up overnight. Fang Yin swore in his heart that he would never let the people around him leave again. I don't want to suffer this kind of unbearable pain anymore. Fang Yin, we can talk. Jiang Fengxing's tone eased a bit. He also understood that threatening Fang Yin with the Jiang family wouldn't bring him any benefits. Instead, it would only infuriate Fang Yin even more. You don't have any irreconcilable conflict with the Jiang family. Even if two kids have a small quarrel, the elders in the family won't take it to heart. It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. I am willing to be the middleman between you and the Jiang family to solve this conflict. In this way, we can live in peace and develop together. Isn't that great? Plop! Fang Yin swung his hand and threw Jiang Fengxing's body onto the deck of the room. Jiang Fengxing showed a painful look. It seemed that this fall was quite heavy. Why should I solve the conflict with the Jiang family? Asked Fang Yin. Fang Yin. Jiang Fengxing rubbed his arm, which was hurting from the fall, and said, do you think that you can live a peaceful life after getting rid of us? Do you think that Dragon Pool and I are the only ones who are interested in the Rubik's Cube? You can ask Lu Xiaoga. You can ask herself. In these few years, how many times has she been in danger? How many assassination attempts has she been through? Are we the only ones who did it? Fang Yin, you have underestimated the attraction of the Rubik's Cube and your current value. Looking down at Jiang Fengxing, Fang Yin continued, therefore, I should keep you alive and ask you to help me talk to the Jiang family so that we can bury the hatchet. If I'm smart, I will also offer a part of Chaoyan Technologies' shares to them. In this way, the Jiang family won't be interested in me anymore. With the protection of the Jiang family, the others who are interested in me will have to be more cautious. Am I right? Jiang Fengxing threw a sharp glance at Fang Yin and said, Chaoyan Technology has 3 major shares, and the Qin family has a great interest in them. With the Qin family, a true god, we don't need to be afraid of anything. However, it's easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to defend against a stab in the dark. One more friend, one more way out. You can be friends with the Qin family, but that doesn't mean you have to be enemies with the Jiang family. That won't do you any good. Chao Yin is developing fast, but it's not a good thing to be controlled by others. Besides, even if you can make billions, you have to make sure that you are healthy, and healthy so that you can enjoy it. Am I right? Fang Yin looked at Jiang Fengxing with a meaningful smile and said, I understand what you just said. You are still threatening me, aren't you? Fang Yin, I'm not threatening you. I'm just telling you what kind of choice a smart man should make, said Jiang Fengxing with a sincere look, as if he was thinking for Fang Yin's sake. Why does an egg have to collide with a rock? What's the point of smashing yourself into pieces? So, as a so-called smart man, I should let you go? Fang Yin asked. Jiang Fengxing didn't answer. He thought, isn't this nonsense? I have been talking to you for so long. Do you still not understand? If you kill me, won't you become a mortal enemy of the Jiang family? But if I do that, Fang Yin pointed at the driver, who was lying on the ground without moving, and said, What about him? He is only a driver, but you killed him like this. What about his wife and child? What about his parents? He is only a small person who doesn't affect the big picture. A small person shouldn't live like a small person. If I let you go, what will happen to her? Fang Yin pointed at Lu Chaoga's assistant and said quietly, She also loves her parents and family. She has a man who loves her as much as his own life. She is still so young and has a bright future. She is not married yet, and she doesn't have children of her own. Such a little girl was humiliated by you and almost killed by you. What will happen to her? Jiang Fengxing wanted to say that she was also a small person, an insignificant chess piece. But when he noticed the look in Fang Yin's eyes, he tactfully swallowed his words back into his stomach. He knew that Fang Yin wouldn't listen to him like this. This stupid guy, those people's life and death, what does it have to do with him? At most, he would just have to pay some money. If he killed him because of these small people, then he would have to fight against the Jiang family to the death. What's more important, can't he even tell this? Fang Yin pointed at Lu Chaoga, who was standing quietly by the bed, and said, She is my best friend, my business partner, and my very, very important family member. I don't know how much she has sacrificed for me, and I think you know it better than me. But you kidnapped her and used the cruelest way you can imagine to deal with her. If I were to be a smart person, as you said, what would she think? Jiang Fengxing glanced at Lu Chaoga and said in a low voice, Miss Lu is a hero among people and the most excellent strong woman I have ever met. Besides, I know that she loves you very much. She is a smart person, and she knows what is the best for you. She can forgive this kind of thing. We can talk about any conditions. Isn't that right, Miss Lu? Lu Chaoga didn't say anything. Since Fang Yin was already here, everything would be decided by him. If Fang Yin said that they should be released, she would think that Fang Yin was mature, steady, and considerate of the overall situation. If Fang Yin said that they should be killed, she would think that Fang Yin was a man who could distinguish kindness and hatred clearly and was loyal. She would support all the decisions made by Fang Yin. She thought it was reasonable. I won't forgive you, said Fang Yin. I never believe that negotiations can solve conflicts, because new conflicts will arise after negotiations. If you throw a piece of meat to the wolf will turn around and walk away. But when the piece of meat in its stomach is gone, it will come back to you again for a new piece of meat. Fang Yin stepped on Jiang Fengxing's calf bone and said, The best way to solve conflicts is to make it lose the courage to come back and ask for a fresh piece of meat. Fang Yin suddenly put forth his strength. Crack! A clear, cracking noise came, followed by Fengxing's extremely suppressed howl. Blood veins bulged on his forehead. One of his calves had already been broken by Fang Yin, and the bone inside was broken. Fang Yin didn't take his foot back just because Fengxing's calf bone was broken. Instead, he slightly rotated his foot and released strong streams of earth brocade power. Pop! Pop! Popping noises could be heard without an end. Jiang Fengxing's broken calf bone was suffering from the second wave of Earth Brocade power. Under the great attack of Earth Brocade power, the hard bone was crushed into puddles of powder. Feng Yan. Jiang Fengxing roared Feng Yan's name, but eventually he couldn't say the rest of his words. Then he directly fainted. Feng Yan looked at Jiang Fengxing, who had fainted, and said in a low voice, "If you want to be a bad guy, you should have the awareness of being a bad guy. You do everything you can. When your lives are threatened, you try to solve problems through negotiation. That's not good. It's not fair to the good guys." Feng Yan moved his foot to the other leg of Fengxing, crushing the bone of Fengxing's calf in a bone powder, just like what he did just now. After that, he slightly sighed in relief and said, "I'm a good man." Chapter 470. What was the feeling of fainting and waking up again? It was the feeling of hovering between life and death. The first kick of Feng Yan crushed Fengxing's lower leg bone into ashes, making him pass out immediately. The second kick of Ji Hao crushed the other leg bone of Fengxing, waking him up from the state of unconsciousness. Fengxing's face was twisted, and his forehead was soaked in sweat. His face had turned dark purple, making him look like a patient suffering from an incurable disease. "Feng Yan, you bastard! How dare you destroy me?" Only at this moment, he finally had the chance to finish the sentence that he hadn't finished before he passed out. The piercing pain from his legs struck his brain over and over again, letting him know that he had already become a real disabled man. He didn't think that Feng Yan would do this so thoroughly. Qiang Longtan's evaluation of Feng Yan was fair and honest. He had the heart of a rabbit, the IQ of a fox, the eyesight of a vulture, and the appetite of a tiger. He truly had a murderous heart. Feng Yan didn't mind Fengxing's bad attitude towards him, although he felt that Fengxing's behavior was quite ungentlemanly. With a calm look, Feng Yan looked at Fengxing, who was sitting on the ground and howling in pain, and said, "I don't care about being cursed at, but I don't like being cursed at. After all, it's not a pleasant thing." Feng Yan threw a kick towards Fengxing's arm. Crack! The familiar bone-cracking noise came once again, and Fengxing passed out again before he could even let out a scream. Feng Yan broke Fengxing's elbow in the most direct and violent way, making Fengxing's right arm powerlessly hang down. "Why didn't you kill him?" asked Qiang Longtan. His arm, which was bitten by the blind black dragon, was no longer turning black, and the venom was no longer spreading in his body. Moreover, as time went by, the venom was even fading away. Therefore, Jihad roughly figured out the venom of this snake. Since his life was no longer in danger, he naturally turned his attention back to the fight between Feng Yan and Fengxing. This was another hidden gate of life and death. Feng Yan's attitude towards Jiang Fengxing had also determined his attitude towards Qiang Longtan. Therefore, Jiang Fengxing's fate was Qiang Longtan's fate. Seeing that Feng Yan had only destroyed Fengxing's pair of feet and an arm, but didn't kill him directly, he asked out loud, "Did I disappoint you?" Feng Yan turned to look at Qiang Longtan and said in a sarcastic tone, "I killed Jiang Fengxing and started a deadly hatred against the Jiang family. Isn't this better for your own benefit?" "Indeed." Qiang Longtan nodded calmly, without the slightest hint of panic or fear from an impending disaster. This man was indeed extraordinary. Even his enemies found it difficult to underestimate his tenacious nature and forbearance. He was like a harmless-looking bull that could easily gain the trust and goodwill of others. However, when you didn't take any precautions against him, he would stab your heart from behind with his sharp horn. Jiang Fengxing and I were the main planners of this kidnapping. I only used my brain, but all the executors were Fengxing's chess pieces. If Fengxing doesn't die, you will never be able to calm down, will you? Do you think that I will be tempted by you to kill him just because you try to sow discord between us? Feng Yan walked towards Qiang Longtan step by step. "Do you think I'm so childish?" Qiang Longtan sighed slightly and said, "Feng Yan, you're not childish. I haven't seen you for 3 years, and you've changed so much. You've grown so much. You've grown so much. You won't believe it, but I'm afraid of you. When you showed up at Zhu Lu's wedding and provoked us like a mad dog, stabbing daggers into our chests over and over again, I started to be afraid of you. I even regretted it. Why did I make such a person my enemy? If we were friends, wouldn't our Jiang family's days be a little better? At least, we would enjoy the same treatment as the Lu and Gu families, wouldn't we? Fang Yin will never be friends with someone like you. Lu Chaoga said in a disdainful voice. You say you're afraid of Fang Yin, but I'm actually more afraid of you. Qiang Long Tan, there's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Even if we can't find any evidence to prove that you did it, we already have an answer in our hearts. Why do I hate you so much? Because I knew that you killed my parents a long time ago. No matter how good you are to me, it's all fake. No matter how much you do, it's all fake. How can you expect people to repay you sincerely? Qiang Long Tan shook his head with a bitter smile. He looked at Lu Chaoga and said, Chaoga, for a long time, I did treat you as my own daughter. I only have one daughter, Jiang Zhulu. As you become more and more outstanding, more and more beautiful, I suddenly feel that having a daughter like you is also something to be proud of. It was selfish of me to let you marry Jiang Zhulu. If we were a real family, would you still be arguing about separating from Longtu? If you fell in love with Jiang Zhulu, would you still have the heart to split Longtu group in two? I'm getting older and older, and Longtu will eventually fall into Julio's hands. To be honest, if it weren't for the flower pot that fell on your balcony, if you had really agreed to marry Jiang Zhulu back then, I would have been more inclined to hand Longtu group over to you. Jiang Zhulu is already a very outstanding child, but compared to your ability, he's still a long way off. You were able to make Chao Yin what he is today in just 2 or 3 years, which has already proven my foresight. Unfortunately, Chaoga, we're not a family. This is the biggest regret in my life. Otherwise, how could I have ended up like this? Fang Yin was really defeated by Qiang Long Tan's shamelessness, although he had already been defeated time and time again by Qiang Long Tan's endless hypocrisy. Even now, he was still thinking of playing the family card. Fang Yin stood in front of Qiang Long Tan and said, I didn't kill Feng Xing because he's more valuable alive than dead. What about you? Give me a reason not to kill you. Qiang Long Tan thought for a long time and said, killing is against the law, so I won't kill you. Fang Yin squinted his eyes and smiled. Fang Yin glanced at the Snake Lord, who understood. He pursed his lips and blew out a subtle and strange sound. The golden-striped snake in the Snake Lord's hand was driven by the sound of the snake. It immediately jumped to the ground and rushed in the direction of Jiang Longtan. Humans didn't kill people, but animals did. You can't kill me either. Qiang Longtan looked at Fang Yin without blinking. If you kill me, Lu Chaoga will die. Fang Yin looked at Lu Chaoga and saw a sharp blade pressed against Lu Chaoga's neck. Red blood seeped out of the blade of the dagger. It was the dagger Qiang Longtan had used to cut off Jing's hair and paint on her scalp. It was unknown when the dagger had landed in Jing's hands, but she was now using it to hold Lu Chaoga hostage. Don't move, Jing said with a trembling voice. You will die. Lu Chaoga's expression was abnormally expressionless as she said softly, Jing, why do you have to do this? I don't have a choice either. I don't have a choice either. My brother took a lot of money from them. My parents were taken away by them. I received a call from them the moment I woke up. They told me to repay him properly. He's a devil. I have no other choice. If you let him go, he will let my parents go. I don't want my parents to die. I don't want you to die either. I can die, but none of you can die. Jing was undoubtedly an outstanding young lady. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been put in such an important position by Lu Chaoga. She had been promoted from a university graduate to her assistant. She was recognized by her abilities and trusted in her character. However, this was how the world was. Only the people closest to you could hurt you the most. Snake Lord stood in front of Lu Chaoga, while Lu Chaoga stood in front of Jing. Lu Chaoga felt that Jing was injured because of her. She had the responsibility and obligation to ensure her safety and do her best to bring her back. To her surprise, this position helped Jing to deliver the fatal blow. It was indeed unexpected that a girl without the strength to truss a chicken could do such a thing. Don't think it's strange. Qianglong Tan didn't think it was something to be proud of. Or rather, he thought it was something special. We've been keeping an eye on Chaoga, but she's very sensitive and doesn't trust anyone anymore. And Jing is a pawn we can use, but we don't dare get too close to her. We're afraid that we'll alert her and make her lose her value. However, we have been in contact with her brother. All the information about her family and the main members of the family are in my hands. Fang Yin, this is the inspiration I got from you. Didn't you use this trick to get Lu Tong to join your side? If Lu Tong hadn't put on a show with you, we wouldn't have ended up in such a sorry state. Fang Yin, who do you think is truly trustworthy in this world? I trusted Lu Mingtu so much back then, but he still hid the biggest secret of the Rubik's Cube from me. Good people really don't get what they deserve. Fang Yin's expression became gloomy and cold again. He hated it when the people around him left him, so he hated all kinds of actions that could lead to horrible things. Without a doubt, and Jing's betrayal made him hesitate to take action for fear of harming the innocent. No matter what reason they had, it wasn't an excuse for Fang Yin to forgive them. Chapter 471. Never underestimate your opponent at any time, because no one knew if he had an even more powerful trump card up his sleeve. Qianglong Tan was such a man. He was the perfect combination of a scalper and a dog. After exhausting the diligence and forbearance of a scalper, he finally jumped out and bit people like a dog. Qianglong Tan looked at Fang Yin with a gentle smile and said, "You're a filial child. Your father died in battle, and you mourned for 3 years. This isn't something young people nowadays can do. Your father's death made you depressed for a few years, but it also made you learn to cherish your family." Chaoga rejected Zhu Lu's pursuit and focused on building a business empire for you. She's qualified to be your family, right? Fang Yin, if you let her down, how can you feel at ease? Fang Yin was no longer in the mood to talk to Qianglong Tan. In his eyes, this was just a dead man with a high IQ. Fang Yin stared at Jing and said, "Jing, put down the knife, or you'll regret it. If you dare hurt a single hair on her, Qianglong Tan doesn't even need to do anything. I'll kill your parents and family." Fang Yan's face was filled with murderous intent, like a Shura demon that had just crawled out of hell. "I can't let them go." And Jing's eyes were moist, and she said with tears, "I can't let them go. If they let my parents go, they'll die. They'll do anything. I can't let them go. Be quiet. Don't be agitated. Calm yourself down and think about it." Lu Chaoga's voice was gentle and calm as she comforted her. This woman's aura was strong, and her heart was even more determined. Even now, she still maintained absolute calmness, as if the person with the knife against her neck was someone else. "I can understand why you made such a choice. If it were me, I'd make the same choice as you. I'm just your boss, but they're your parents. They're the people who gave birth to you, raised you, and gave you life. For them, I can't understand you doing anything. But have you ever thought that even if you kill me, will he let your parents go? You've been with me for 2 years, and this isn't the first time you've dealt with people like Qianglong Tan. You should know that he won't allow what happened today to leak out. If he escapes from here, the first thing he'll do is get rid of your parents." I know, but And Jing cried even more miserably, and her emotions were close to breaking down. Her hand, which was holding the knife, kept shaking. Every time she shook, a shallow cut appeared on Lu Zhaoga's slender neck. The red blood was like a thin red line, and it was slowly spreading forward. "But I don't know what to do. I can't let him go. Boss Lu, can you ask Fang Yin to let him go?" Lu and Jing Lu, but I Lu Chaoga sighed and said, "And Jing, don't you understand? Only by keeping him here can your parents and family be safe and have a chance to survive. If you let him go, they will only die. Whether it's for you or for me, we can't let this person go. Boss Lu, I beg you, scram." Fang Yin suddenly shouted harshly. A majestic force sprayed out from his mouth. This kind of extremely penetrating explosive sound almost burst people's eardrums. Just as Jing was about to say something, She suffered the attack of the Taoist mountain strike mantra that contained inner strength and resembled the Buddhist lion's roar. Her mind went blank for a moment, and there was a roar in her ears. When the thunder in her ears disappeared and her consciousness returned to normal, she found that she had lost the ability to breathe. His neck was gripped by Fong Yan's hand. His feet were off the ground, and he was hung in the air by one of Fong Yan's arms. And Jing was completely dumbfounded by Fong Yan's actions. She had no idea what had happened. Just now, she had clearly held a knife to Boss Lu's neck. Why was it that in the blink of an eye, her neck was being held in someone's hand? And Jing had been following Lu Chaoga and had seen many battles and ambushes, but she still didn't understand what the real underworld was. When everyone spoke, they would naturally focus a portion of their attention on the choice of words and sentences. Otherwise, no one could guarantee that their words had not expressed the meaning they wanted to express. It was the same for Jing. Just as she was seriously about to beg for mercy from Lu Chaoga, Fong Yin suddenly cast the mountain strike mantra that could confuse a person's mind and soul. It instantly froze Jing, a woman with weak willpower. 1 second, or maybe only 1/100th of a second. In less than a blink of an eye, Fong Yin had already entered the Taiji domain. With a step, he flashed behind Jing with drunken crane rides the wind, snatched the dagger from her hand, and lifted her up from the ground, who was still in a daze. I told you that you would regret it. Fong Yin exerted some strength in his palm, as Jing's breathing became more rapid. Her face turned an ugly, purplish red, and Jing instinctively kicked with her hands and feet a few times, but her body's strength was quickly drained due to the loss of oxygen. She glanced at Lu Xiaoga, and a relieved smile appeared on her face. This was good too. If she died, she wouldn't have to face such a difficult choice again. Death was the best release. She looked at Lu Xiaoga as her lips moved slightly, but she couldn't make a sound. However, Lu Xiaoga understood and knew that she wanted to say sorry. Fong Yin, let her go. Lu Xiaoga walked in front of Fong Yin and said. The killing intent in Fong Yan's eyes didn't diminish, and he didn't loosen his grip on Jing's arm. He didn't want to let Jing go, even though he sympathized with her. She saved my life, Lu Xiaoga said. Last July, I went to Huaqing Seaview Club for an appointment. When I got out of the car, a gunman sniped at me. She took a bullet for me. Lu Xiaoga touched Jing's shoulder and said, that shot was here. If it wasn't for her, I owe her my life. Plop. Fong Yin threw Jing to the ground, and she lay there coughing violently before taking deep breaths. If Fong Yin had held on a little longer, Jing would probably be a corpse that still had body warmth. Lu Xiaoga saved Jing, but she wasn't as concerned about her injuries as before. You saved my life, so I'll return the favor. You've done your part, and I've done mine. But from then on, they were strangers. All the admiration, all the support, all the feelings, and all the anticipation vanished when she held a knife to her neck. Betrayal. This was the greatest harm. It was impossible for Lu Xiaoga to keep a person who had betrayed her by her side. Even if she allowed it, Fong Yin wouldn't allow it. When Qiang Longtan saw how Fong Yin easily broke through his trap and saved Lu Xiaoga, he shook his head and said with a sigh, I've always despised force because I think it's the only choice for people with low intelligence. Now, I have to admit that sometimes force is indeed the best way to solve problems. Of the 3,000 great Daos, only force is undefeatable. I admit defeat. Fong Yin didn't even look at Jiang Zhulu. Instead, he walked over and helped Lu Xiaoga out of the room. Because the overgod's body had exploded and the body was being corroded by the genetic agent. The air inside was filled with a fishy smell, and it was unbearable to look at. After Fong Yin and Lu Xiaoga left, the Snake Lord's shriveled face revealed an extremely strange smile. He looked at Qiang Longtan and said, How do you want to die? Can you give me a quick death? Qiang Longtan looked at the Snake Lord calmly. He already knew that this moment would come. He had exhausted his mind and used up all his chess pieces, but he still couldn't escape. Now, he could only accept his fate. No, the Snake Lord refused without hesitation. I don't have any grudges against you, and I even like you a little. Only a heartless, ruthless, and vicious person like you is suitable to be a snake lord. If only you had followed Master to raise snakes earlier. What a pity, King Longtan said. It was unknown whether he was regretting that the snake lord didn't agree to give him a quick death, or that he didn't have the chance to raise snakes with Master. He pointed at the golden snake crawling on the ground and said, "Can you take it back? I know you won't let me die a quick death, and you definitely won't let me die easily. Can you take this little thing back? You can use any other method. If you want, I can be your straw target or play with a scarecrow. I just don't like the feeling of these little things crawling into my body. If it weren't for these little things, I wouldn't have lost so badly, right?" The Snake Lord grinned and said, "Fine. Since you don't like it, I'll take it back." The Snake Lord whistled, and the golden snake crawled into his arm. "Thank you." King Longtan sincerely thanked him. Even at this point, there was still someone willing to agree to his request. He felt that his luck had always been good. Chirp! The Snake Lord whistled again, and a chubby little snake crawled out from his body. The little snake was blood-red in color. Its entire body was made of flesh. It wriggled on the ground as if it didn't have any bones, like a dyed silkworm chrysalis. King Longtan's eyes turned cold, and he had a bad feeling. "Don't be afraid. It's not a snake, it's a blood maggot," the Snake Lord said with a smile. The Snake Lord smiled and said, "It will enter your body and live in one of your internal organs. It can live for a long time, until it can't find any food, or it gets tired of staying there. It will try to dig a hole outside." Chirp! The Snake Lord whistled again, and the blood maggot rushed towards King Longtan at a speed that didn't match its body at all. It ran to the top of its shoe, and then crawled towards its upper body. King Longtan tried to slap it with his hand, but missed. He jumped and shook with all his might, trying to shake off the blood maggot. But the blood maggot had suction cups under its feet, and no matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't let go. Whoosh! The blood maggot quickly crawled to King Longtan's face, and after probing around with its tentacles, it suddenly drilled into King Longtan's nostrils. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.